Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Is this not why you are here?
Yes, you got me. You caught me. The pregnancy test came back positive. I am, in fact, a father. Who's your daddy? Who's the dad you never had? Is it Jordan Peterson? Is it Jordan Peterson, Ryan? I have Ryan Stone with me today. We're going to talk about Father's Day. We're going to talk about why women love cheaters. Should a father be able to cheat? Right? I mean, if you can provide me a male heir. Then it looks like I'll have to outsource. Sister wives. There we go. Oh my goodness. Hang on. You're going to get echo if I don't go and remove the isolation. Ryan Stone, how are you
Such
today?
a nerd.
Yeah. Am I getting better at my memes now? Am I getting better at like the clickbaity stuff? I mean, I thought I got classic with Gladiator today. I mean, that's
dude, the irreverence, chef's kiss, chef's kiss.
Oh goodness. Oh, it's Father's Day today. Before we get launch into anything too spicy, which we will definitely get in this show. No, I did not knock up Torsia. Gosh, you guys. Oh man, you guys.
Not this time.
Hey man, no, not this time. Not this time. Ooh. You know, I tell you what's funny is whenever I gotta. We have to look at these. I'm sorry to do this too, but we have to look at some of these because like whenever I go and I put something like really super baity out there for people that, hey, you know, you got to get them in the door first, right? You got to get people in the door. So
nachos.
Yeah, nachos. Yes. Yeah, right. I know. Super nachos. Let's see. Where did it go? Who's throwing this out there at me? People like, oh, Torsia's going to be on. I'll pass. That doesn't mean she's got to be on. Jesus Christ, man! Just because I used it. Let's see what. Of course, everybody loves the thumbnail here. Here I don't understand the dynamic until I got with an older woman. They don't like men that don't have the social visibility to get other women if you wanted to. Oh boy, it's funny to like whenever I throw these things out there. Yeah. I got so many guys that want to like take everything like so bloody literally, man. It's like. Really, it's okay. You know, what is it? The cardinal rule of the internet is never use allegory.
Oh, I was thinking the other one. Don't show weakness or they'll drive a truck.
Never show weakness. That's another good one. You know, I think there's we need to do this sometime. We need to like write down like a codex of things you can and you should and shouldn't do on the internet. And I think the top one should be never use allegory, never use metaphor, and never use sarcasm because it will always be taken as literally as it possibly can be taken. So if you go and say, "Oh, he put Tori on there," it must mean that he's having a baby with. Like, no, dude, I'm not having a baby with anybody. You know, like at what point, like, do you like explain the joke, right?
Dude, I know, and you completely kill it.
Meme, you know.
That's the thing. And I can't tell. Remember when we used to have the argument about Roosh? Like, does he really believe this or is it a grift?
Yeah.
I have the same thing. Like, is this person truly stupid or do they just want a reason to fight? Because I'm still convinced. I think it's people want a reason to fight, but over time, I don't know, man.
They just want to be heard. You know,
the way you call people straight believers, I'm starting to believe you now.
I know, right? I mean, what was it? I think when we were on, and by the way, thank you for doing yeoman's work on Rule Zero yesterday. Fun. At the last minute. That was great. But I think it was John Fitch was saying, you know, oh, we're all like sort of these mini cults. You know, you have your cult and I have my cult. And I was like, excuse me, at what point is it like not a cult and it's just like following or influencing? I have a real tough time with the word influencer. Right?
Because it's nothing.
Influencer. That's like if you like think about that, if you put that in like You know, like they say, like certain movies, if you look at them in different contexts, they become horror movies. It's like that, man.
Well, dude, it's literally 1984. The dude on the screen bitching about you through the thing, or V for Vendetta. All of those dystopic.
Exactly, and it's so bloody literal. And I'm like, dude, it's a joke. Really, it's okay. It's sarcasm, man. I know it doesn't translate very well over the, over the internet, but at what point do you go, you know what? It's the internet. Maybe it's. Do you think it's a generational thing?
No, I actually have a good theory on this, and so far it's been right. Your life, right? You're raised around people. You don't like the people you grew up with. So you kind of, as you get older, you get better at shedding the people who suck and getting people who you can respect, even if you don't agree with, right? The internet just gave them a back door to drive right back up in your life and say you're back to grade 6 with that dweeb who eats his boogers, and he's there right beside you, and you're like,
yes. Oh God. Well, see, the reason why I was going to say that, it's like I'm looking for I have got to read you this one tweet, but the reason why I say I think it's a generational thing is because whenever I listen to Aaron Clary, and Aaron, I mean, because Aaron is Gen X, kind of like me, right? And I mean, he's younger than me, but like not by much. And so
you'd be in the same high school, even if you weren't in the same.
Yeah,
grade,
we didn't go to the same high. Yeah, we were just. I mean, maybe we would have been like, I don't know, 3 years apart, 4 years apart in high school. I don't know I forget how old he is. Maybe it would have been like 6 years apart. I don't know. But he's still Gen X. And so he still came up and he still watched Friends in the 90s, I'm sure. He's going to hate me for saying that. But like, everybody thinks of him as the old man of the manosphere. And I'm like, I'm older than Aaron is. But I think he's kind of like, he's got this generational kind of like quizzical look on his face. All these, it's like, what that? Why the hell would you think that? Like that good old, salt of the earth wisdom that just sort of like comes out now. Like it's almost like, remember I talked about how Corey Worthington was the alpha Buddha. Like in some ways, I think like Aaron Clary's kind of like the common sense Buddha, I guess. It's like it's natural. It's
got a sweet, sincere naivety to it, but it's also like practical. I love that stuff. He reminds me of a Newfie, a Canadian Newfie, because that's like the biggest thing about Newfies is they'll barely be literate when you're talking to them. You can't understand them, but they will. Their main blood sport is making Toronto educated people look fucking stupid with the simplest language possible. It's just awesome.
Oh man!
Plus with a Minnesota accent, it's basically a Newfie by anyway. So whatever.
Yeah, I was still trying to find this thing.
The get off my lawn of the manosphere.
Exactly. He is the get off my lawn of the manosphere.
And he plays it up. Like, I know he's pop culture literate more than he lets on. So it's like, I'll play along. It helps the audience. You guys get the gimmick.
Well, but that's the whole thing is like, there's this almost, it's I don't say it's naivete, because it's not really naivete. It's just it's like dumbfounded,
It's when Homer put the crayon up his nose. Do you remember that episode?
Exactly. It's like, why would that even be a thought to you? It's kind of like where he goes with this.
He made the choice to be that way. He decided to just get out of the stupidity.
Wow. Well, anyways, what I wanted to throw out there is I think that there's a connection. There's a connection between this sort of like never use metaphor, never use a joke, never use sarcasm, never use metaphor, allegory, whatever. The other one is never. I think law number 2 ought to be of the law number 2 of the internet. Cardinal rule of the internet is it's the Roosh V's razor, right? Like Occam's razor, like Roosh V's razor. Any any thought experiment will instantly be taken as endorsement. Okay, it's you want to do this. I'll never do thought experiments certainly not on social media, but never do it anywhere online. And even when you troll somebody, people will still take that troll and use it as literally as they can possibly do it.
Why, what possible modest proposal are you suggesting? I forgot all about that until you brought it up. Yeah.
You know what's funny? And here we are like in 2022. I remember this. You remember this. You know why it's the Roosh V razor, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Because he suggested a thought experiment as I think it was back in 2015 or 2016. And so he became internationally recognized as a quote unquote EPAR. I'm not going to say because we're too far in or too early now, but the EPAR endorser, the apologist for EPAR, because he came up with a thought experiment. And this was, by the way, this was right around 2014, 2015, when the UVA
that hoax.
Erdley, Rolling Stones, EPAR hoax, and it proved to be a hoax. Of course, nobody talks about that stuff now, but at that time, I think Roosh V decided that he wanted to opine about this, and this is when Roosh V was a much different individual. And of course, he became known as the EPAR apologist as a result of a thought experiment. Never use thought experiments online because people will presume you are like the devil himself if that's the case.
And it was it's not even like, no offense to Roosh, but it wasn't even good satire. He essentially stole, was it Jane Austen's Modest Proposal, where they talked about eating babies to prevent the poor from dying or something?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so he just took that and applied it to this thing. It was like literally word for word, almost plagiarism.
Right.
They still didn't get it. And I'm like, as a girl, how do you not know a Jane Austen quote?
Yeah, or Jane Eyre, Jane Austen, what is Emily Bronte?
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm not talking about Mattress Girl. That's Sukaliki or whatever the heck her name is. It was her whole Mattress Girl, like I was EPAR'd, essayed, whatever. That ended up, of course, being a hoax, but not a hoax. It was a message. It was performance art.
Dude, speaking of Great Babe, do you remember after that where she made a video of her reenacting it? Got one of her friends to help her out?
And it was essentially amateur porn is what it went.
Yeah, it was a Paris Hilton tape, and it was the worst Paris Hilton tape. I'm like, dude, you can't starfish in your own like assault allegation. Come on. Yeah. Come on.
Exactly. Well, let's move on a little bit. I just do a few little, and we're almost 12 minutes in. I will be in Miami starting tomorrow. I jump on a plane bright and early. 5:30 a.m. is my flight out of here. So I'll be in Miami from the 20th, starting tomorrow, all the way to the 28th. So I am there for 8 solid days, and I am doing a variety of things. I confirmed with...
Is tanning one of them for once?
What's that?
Is tanning one of them for once? You've been in Miami for like 40 days this summer. And
let me explain something about tanning and Rollo.
You're whiter than the paint on my bookshelf.
I'll tell you what's funny. I'll tell you what's funny is when I go to Miami, like I'm in here in the studio and I get washed out. Right now, I'm a pretty white. I got a white ass. Let's just be right. Let's be real here. Let's be 100. Okay. Like when I stand next to, like, I am as white as Fresh is black. Okay. And we joke about that all the time. Like Fresh will be like, he's like, I'm dark. He's like, I am under the bed dark. and so we every now and then we'll do like an Instagram shot of like my hand next to his hand. And it's like, it's literally night and day.
Oh, that's funny.
But but what's funny is like when I go to Miami and I do like Instagram shots or movies or whatever, like I did the fishing trip with
I saw a screenshot of it, yeah,
and Justin Waller. That was we called it the Redneck Yacht Party, and I think we'll probably end up doing it again. If I can do it in July, we will. But so I'm out there and people are like, whoa, Rollo's Swallow Tomasi. Rollo looks a whole lot tanner. I'm like, yeah, because I'm not washed out in all these fluorescent lights out here. That's why. Or I will tell you another thing that I'm doing while I'm out there. I will be on Fresh and Fit. Most likely, I want to say it's going to be Tuesday. I'm working on a nuts and bolts, really good, not a red meat show with Myron coming up this week. So I will be on Fresh and Fit this week. I will be on Adam Sosnick's show on Thursday with Torsha podcast will be with me, and George Gammon will be there as well. And George Gammon, if you're unfamiliar with George Gammon, I have been working with him really for almost a year and a half. Gosh, that's been that long. A year and a half now. And he is actually going to be on Patrick Bet. I'm hoping he's going to get on with Patrick Bet David, but I know he'll be on with me and Adam Sosnick on Thursday, the 23rd. That will be 4 p.m. Eastern time. And those are always really good, spicy shows. So we'll be on there. And I think he's got one other girl lined up, and I don't know who this is. I don't know. I hope it's not Coco, but it might be Coco. Who knows? Maybe it will.
Which one's Coco?
Coco Butte. She's the I know. I don't make these up, man. Is
that her Christian name?
That's her superhero name. That's her comic book name. And mine's Rollo Tomasi. So yours is Ryan
fair.
Stone, so
fair.
But she's been on. I've been on once with her solo, and then she was on recently with Allie from Real Femme Sapien and Pearl. And that was the thing. The problem with like working with women like that, and it's not like this is nothing against her per se, but it's like that sort of archetype is they end up sucking all the oxygen out of the room. And I mean that in the nicest possible way. It's like it becomes the Coco show, or it becomes the OnlyFans girl show. Like I was watching recently. It was I think it was Matt Wall. No, not Matt. It was Ruslan was on there. Hi, Ruslan. He was on Adam Sosnick's show, and he was on there with I'm forgetting Rebecca something or other. What the hell is Rebecca's last name? Barnett. Rebecca Barnett was on there. She's been on Fresh and Fit a few times. She's another track. She's Sun Hat girl. Okay, so she's on there, and Ruslan's on there, and then there's this other woman that's on there, and she is married. And she has an OnlyFans, and she used to be like a practicing nurse. I want to say she was in the medical profession of some sort. I want to say she was a nurse, and her claim to fame, or the reason anybody knows anything about her, and I never heard of her before, but apparently she was a big deal because she had gone on some talk show and she had been kicked off, or she'd been fired from her work for having an OnlyFans at the medical place that she was at, and that they mentioned that the fact that she had OnlyFans, and she was literally, her OnlyFans is based on her and her husband getting after it on OnlyFans, and they have kids, and they've got they're making more, but she's making more. She's basically supporting the family. She's making more money than they've ever made in their lifetime. And I will tell you this, isn't it interesting that when a woman is, she goes from being like a nurse, or you got to train up for that, right? I mean, you got to make a lot, I don't know how long you have to go to school to be a nurse. Is it 8 years, 6 years, 8 years, depending on the branch or the variety of nurse you end up being? Like, I think you're like
the RN is like the one that it's like pretty close to doctor, just a couple years shy of that. So I think 6.
Right. And so here you have this woman who most likely spent a good chunk of change, probably took out a lot of student loans to do this. Statistically speaking, she probably did. I don't know for a fact, but I spent a lot of money to get to that point. Had to put in a lot of time and energy to get her nursing degree or her certificate or whatever, spending time in med school and doing all that stuff. And then OnlyFans makes more money than that. And it's like, why? It's like that old joke or that meme. It's like, trying to read or learn math, and it's like, screw it, I'll be a stripper. That whole thing. And now it's screw it, I'm going to be an OnlyFans girl. But so she's on there with Ruslan and Rebecca, and she basically sucks all the oxygen out of the room, and not intentionally, but because she's like the bearded lady, right? She's like the circus freak that everybody goes to see, and we talk about the circus freak when we're on the show.
See, that's why I know these guys don't know old school game. Do you remember when they would have the sets and there was the hottest chick, and it was like a conscious effort to basically ignore that one because she's used to sucking the oxygen out of the room? I'm like, say what you will about Mystery Man with his goofy hat and the aviator goggles, but like, he knew how to work a room.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just saying. Little things like that. A couple of compliance tests. Although pro wrestling too, because everybody knows pro wrestling doesn't work unless the guy getting hit sells the hit. Yeah. I think a lot of people are so busy focused on how great they are that they forget that it's a collaborative thing. Yep. Like, you're funnier when I laugh at your jokes. Obviously, they're funny. But if they weren't funny, but you're trying your best and I want to help the show along, I'd probably give like a sensible chuckle to help it out. But if you're not doing any of that, all you're doing is taking all the energy and the magic and all the showtime jazz hands out of the room and just trying to, stare at my tits. I don't agree with it, but then again, that's your business, your monkeys. Well, you can't argue with the numbers, man. You can't argue with the numbers. That's the whole thing. Is like when I see, I think it was interesting, and it's becoming more and more difficult for religious people with religious convictions. And Ruslan is most definitely, he's like one of these sort of like white boy Christian rapper guys, right? And I mean that in a nice way. That's just, I know, that's why I'm laughing, right? But doing what he's been doing for as long as he's been doing it, that's where he was a recording engineer. I believe he's a recording engineer, and got into sort of like Zuby style, like rapping, positivity and Christian rap stuff and everything. And I mean, I guess probably in the
I don't know, mid 2000s, early 20 teens. It was a big deal. But I would argue, and in fact, I would ask him this. You know, people say, "Oh, you should go debate him." Okay, well, I'd be happy to talk to him on any show. But my first question would be, are you making more money as a YouTuber, or an influencer, personality on YouTube? Are you making more money doing this than you did when you were doing Christian rap?
I wouldn't be surprised. I know lawyers are. That Amber Heard thing?
My guest, you know, what's that?
I was going to say, with the lawyers, just from the Amber Heard trial, do you know how many lawyers now are YouTube, you know, celebrities that make more money doing that than they did on their entry-level law position?
Yeah. Yeah. You know, that's funny. This is actually something I've always wanted to talk to you about, is like when we talked about, I think it was Dr. Sean Smith, and everybody was saying, "Oh, you guys had a breakdown, or you guys, he owned you, hypergamy this, blah, blah, blah." I'm like, one of the things that I see as sort of a problem with having like and I like Sean. That's the problem, is I really liked him as a dude. I thought he was
he's
really
a good doc.
cool guy. It's just that, you know, he starts working with idiots like Anthony Johnson, and then I kind of go, sorry, I got to wash my hands of you.
We made it 20 minutes in without that guy. 20 minutes.
Yeah, no, I promised Aaron Clary I would back the fuck up off of that. So anyways, but no, I mean, Sean, I don't as a person, I liked him very well, and he asked some really good questions, especially when he's talking about, you know, wouldn't it be better for like guys for some guys, wouldn't it be better that you never unplug them? And I was like, yeah, in some cases, you know, guys are healthier in their delusions, but that's not what I'm about.
See, I didn't like how he worded it either. Like, unplug them, like you're doing it.
Yeah,
takes the agency completely away from the guy. It's like he can make a choice to do whatever he wants.
And he's not the first one to run that question by me. Another guy by the name of Jack Murphy a long time ago asked me the same thing. Aren't we radicalizing guys by like waking them up and getting involved in objective reality?
Oh yeah, I remember that one too.
You know, as I said, karma's a bitch.
You know what? At least when Tanner was asking this stuff, he at least was smart about it. He was like, is there any way to do it without them getting zeroed out? So like he understood that you want to, like, helping a guy help himself is a good thing in and of itself. Yeah. I never quite got the whole pushing back against it. It's like, wouldn't you rather be a nice fattened up piece of cattle? It's like, no. This is
a good comment. Dean Dionysus says the red pill is fire analogy. Yeah, it is. It's like, I'm Prometheus. I'm giving the humans fire, right? You can cook your food with it, and you can, you know, heat your homes with it, or you can take it and burn your neighbor's house down and set your friends on fire with it as well. So, or you can set yourself on fire with it too. It's like it's not the actual fire itself that's good or evil. It's how it's used, and I think that's always going to be a really good analogy. And here I am using analogies on you online again.
Well, that's fine, because then you just do your podcast with Diogenes and Dionysus, and we can have a lot of fun on the weekends. If anybody can unpack that reference, I'll give you $5.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say just a quick thought. Let me finish that thought. Is like when I was thinking about Dr. Sean Smith, and I look at, I mean, think about this, like, and this relates with that, the chick who's on OnlyFans, who's like nailing her husband. I mean, they're married. They've been married for a long time. You know, it's not like they're out of, you know, nailing randoms on. No,
they're just voyeurs. People in the city do that. They just get big picture side windows and bang on there. But I've woken up seeing a blowjob across the way it happens.
But here you have a woman who is, you know, I mean, she's very attractive, but she's had 2 kids already. And for having 2 kids, I can see why people would, yeah, she's a MILF. I'll just be straight up there. But here she is. She went to maybe 6 to 8 years of college to do what she needs to do. Took out God knows how many, you know, business loans. She's got to be certified. She's got to be insured. She's got to, you know, find somebody who wants to hire her and needs her skill set, right? Go through all that. Same thing with Sean Smith. You know, how he's a doctor, so he had to have been in school for a minimum of 8 years, possibly 10 years. Has to have his own practice, has to have insurance, malpractice insurance for sure. Has to, you know, deal with the rent and deal with a secretary or whatever. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't, but just figuratively speaking, that's a lot of investment in yourself for a very minimal reward. And then, so you've got this, you build up a practice, you do all this good stuff. And I could say the same thing about Dr. Glover as well. You know, was it No More Mr. Nice Guy? These guys are clinical psychologists. And along comes John from Modern Life Dating in a bathtub and is making more money than they are outside of like a year and a half of being a YouTuber and talking to guys and advising guys and helping guys out. Or Rollo Tomasi for that example. I mean, at least maybe I've got 20 years in the background as far as this is concerned, but I don't have a doctorate. I'm not a therapist. I didn't go through all that school. I didn't pay that money. I didn't pay my dues to do that. So it's got to be pretty galling, I guess, to see like, you know, was it to see John dressed up as Captain America and he makes more money and has more engagement than you do after like 8 or 10 years of med school.
Well, this reminds me of when the Industrial Revolution first came out and they started automating machinery work and industrial work, and everybody was getting all pissed off. It's like, I'm the best cobbler. It's making a subpar shoe. But they just understood, like, I can make a shoe half the cost for 10,000 people and make more money on it. I think we're in the information age version of that, where people are realizing you have to be scalable. Otherwise, you're just going to get left behind.
Yeah, it's funny. It's one of the conversations I had with Robert Kiyosaki. He says, you know, if you're not a brand, you're a commodity. You know, it goes back to like, you know, if something's for free, you're the product, right? If you can use something for free, you're the product. They're data mining or whatever else. And then along comes this guy, and he makes more money than you do as a tenured professor. This guy makes more money than you as a clinical psychologist, and you have your own practice, and he has no insurance and does not need to worry about any of the overhead that you have to worry about either. So
yeah, I mean, we can easily go the other way. Jeff Miller, his like grumpy old men beef with you for the same. It's kind of the same thing.
Yeah. For what? I mean, yeah, and I like Jeff Miller. I don't have a problem with him. The only time we butt heads is when he's like, "Oh, those red pill guys are about this." I'm like, "No, they're not." And if you would let me explain to you, no, I'm not going to have anybody explain anything to me. Or if I
don't, you just usually send a photo of him about Polly and then ask, leave it at that.
About Polly, it's all over. And I'll tell you that's the thing that frustrates me is he's otherwise very brilliant. He's on his game. He's a consummate statistician. He knows his stuff. He's admittedly himself. He says, I'm very aspy, you know, he's very on the spectrum. But I'm not going to hold that against. In this case, it might actually work to his advantage. But the fact that he's all about poly and is like sort of this poly evangelist when it comes to the poly, quote unquote, you know, thruples and poly lifestyle and everything else with Dr. Diana Fleischman, it's like, I'm sorry, it's not a moral thing. It's like, this is just simple pragmatism, and you know better. You know what you're as an evolutionary psychologist, you know what jealousy is and what it will prompt people to do.
He has an essay on this.
Exactly. And you know what mate guarding is. And you also know the stats for like countries that are polygamous countries tend to be more prone to war and civil unrest. And so, you know, before you start going out there saying, yay, poly, let's look at some of the nuts and bolts here. And when you're invested in it, you know, what are you going to say? You're going to cater your research and your understanding to what you want to happen.
And you might not even know you're doing it, because a lot of this, like a lot of people think everybody's an ass. So much of this is subconscious.
Yeah.
Everything. The way the girl treats you, subconscious. The way guys are treating each other, subconscious. Egos clashing. It's all subconscious. And that's the part that kind of doesn't really scare me, but it kind of removes the magic. Remember how everybody's like, your childhood version of love is gone once you take the red pill?
Yeah, you can't listen to 80s power ballads anymore.
Exactly. Now when I watch this kind of beef stuff, I just realize this is just somebody defending something about their ego. They're not even invested in it. They're looking for excuses. It's probably why they're ignoring any metaphor you make to take it literally, because that's an attack point. And it's just tiresome, man.
It's hard. And again, it's ego investments. And I'm not saying I'm immune from that either, by the way.
Oh, nobody is.
At least I can admit to it. Right. Everybody, like, people go, he tries to be objective all the time. You can't possibly be objective. No human is absolutely 100% rational. We'd all look like Mr. Spock. I'm like, that's absolutely not what I'm saying. But in the same breath, I'm like, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't try.
Yeah. Just self-awareness. You let people know what they're in for. They can shed the bias on their own, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know there's a bunch of people that don't like the Canadian convoy. I've been pretty vocal about it. I love the idea of working class people fighting for their rights. But at the same time, that's not my red pill opinion. And I think a lot of people miss that too, where they're like, you know, if you're a doctor, psychologist, I'll use Dr. Smith. I don't mean to talk shit. I just need an example. Like, he could have his psychological opinions, and then he could have his like private opinions. But it's hard as a brand to keep those things separate, because most people will just associate him with you because it's on the same Twitter account, right?
Yeah. Oh, wait, I got to put this on there. Yeah, you're right. I'm not going to say it. I will put it up on the screen though. So anyways, let me run back really quick. Unless was there something else you wanted to?
Nah, these guys, this beef. Let's move on. Let's talk about real things. Let's talk about people.
I don't really care. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
But no, I should probably finish my story here. I will be on with Adam Sosnick on June 23rd. It will be at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Set your phasers to stun, man. Set your your alerts for that one, because that's good. Anytime I'm on a Thursday with Adam, you know it's going to be fun. And then on Friday, I will be at the Rebel Capitalist event. That is it's at the, and I don't mind saying this, it's at the Hilton Midtown. No, it's the Hilton Miami. I want to say it's Midtown, but it's probably Midtown anyways. It's the Hilton in Miami. We'll be down there. I'm going to be running a workshop, which is going to be on Friday at 5 p.m. Eastern time till 7. I'm going to see if I can live stream it. So that might be something you guys want to check out. All I'm asking for is another $99, $100 PayPal donation for it. You don't have to pay. You pay what you thought it was worth, more or less, is where I'm going with this. The reason I do that is because it's for people who are live there at Rebel Capitalist. So I can't exactly, say, oh, you already paid for this, so you can pay for me too. But if you want to donate, please do. I'll give you the information for Patreon and for PayPal for that. So that's
do it, or you're a beta male, guys.
Yeah, do it or you're a beta male.
You don't want to be a beta male. They're the worst kind of males.
All right. Well, let's get down to brass tacks here. Today's Father's Day. My father passed away in 2010. He passed away actually on September 11th, 2010, from complications of Alzheimer's and dementia at that time.
Wow.
And yeah, so it was interesting to watch him sort of like my father. I hate to like, oh, well, let's talk about our dads. But I think it's kind of necessary to get into the other topics that I need to get into today, because everybody knows me. If you've ever read my book, you already know what the chapter that I'm going to refer to today, which is the Father's Day, the daddy issues chapter that's in the book. And you have to remember that when I wrote that chapter, that was back in like I published it in 2013, but I wrote that as a blog essay, I think, as far back as like 2011 or 2012. And a lot of the same issues and a lot of the same stuff that I dug into that over 10 years now are still with us today. And we're still dealing with this, and nothing got solved, and nobody cares. And because, again, if there is no boogeyman, no one gets paid. So, but anyways, I think what's interesting is there's kind of like this, there's like your father as like who your dad was, like who was the masculine influence that you grew up with, versus the, I guess, idealization, like where there's supposed to be this sort of like not toxically masculine, but this like appropriate, positively masculine father that we're supposed to aspire to, or we're supposed to have some sort of like idealistic image of this guy in our head. But then if you look at it like a blog like Post Secret, where they
is that the one where people give their secrets away anonymously?
Give their secrets away in a quote unquote anonymous postcard, and then they scan them and they put them up on the blog. It's still around, oddly enough. But if you go, I always liked watching those back in the day when I was more involved in the blog, or I was more involved in like forums and stuff, because I would look at those and I would go, this is what first of all, this is what Post Secret decides to put up. And then second of all, it's very in tune with what the toxic masculinity narrative has been really for almost 40 years now.
It's been going on that long?
Well, it is, in the sense that like there's always there's archetypes right now when it comes to fathers. And before I get into those, though, let's give everybody a review of what your sort of upbringing was with your dad.
Oh, well, this one's an easy one. My parents divorced when I was 5 and my brother was 3. Mm-hmm. He passed away in 1997. I was still a kid. So when I hear everybody, I'm that asshole that when like people are bitching about their dad, I get to pull out that, oh, it's nice to have a dad. What's that like? And then they're like, fuck you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's even my girl. I did that to her. Hey, call your dad. Tell him hi from me because I don't have one anymore. And she's like, shut up. Yeah, so I'm kind of weird, but I liked him. Like he was what you would think of when you think, alpha male, whatever. Mm-hmm. Partied hard, had like a crazy good job. He worked at the rig, so he had like the fancy Corvette. Super attractive guy. Picked up the preacher's daughter. Mm-hmm. Loved to party, loved to drink. He ended up dying of...
did he cheat on your mom?
I don't think so. At least if they've never mentioned it if he had. No, he's pretty good about that. Gave her 2 kids. Mm-hmm. She ended up divorcing him because, he gambled a lot.
Mhm.
But yeah, he was slick, like the 70s turtleneck, the leisure suit, all that shit. It was pretty neat. And then once a year, we'd head down to see him in Alberta every 2 weeks. That's why I'm a huge fan of the George Jones, because we listened to that whole I Am What I Am album all the way down to Alberta. And it was nice, but it was kind of like you, the way people would talk about dad as if you'd only ever read it in a book, as opposed to actually living with one. So when I see all these like daddy issues things popping up, it just seems so foreign to me. I guess I got like fatherhood autism. And then the stepdad, when I grew up, he was an asshole, I guess. Kind of made the promise keeper thing, same as everybody. He was a hardworking man, 16 hours in the bush, cheated like you would not believe.
So that dude did.
Yeah, mom stayed with him until the kids were all moved out, and then she left him. He ends up, his next wife now is a chick that's my age, so he's like 30 years younger than him, and he's got another kid and started a family. So it's like, I come from a long line of Chads.
Yeah, it seems that way.
I just have no patience to hear about these guys like, oh, boys will be boys. I'm like, shut up.
Yeah. Well,
but I'm going to take this seriously with you because, like, these guys need to know.
Yeah, exactly, and that's good. And sometimes we got to sort of bring it down to earth as well. My dad was probably like, we were just talking about sociosexual hierarchies not too long ago. Alpha, beta, delta, that blah blah.
Your
My
dad
father
was a
was
Sigma?
definitely a delta.
Ah, okay.
He was like
So a good man.
He was a good man. He did what he was supposed to do, right? My father was always concerned with doing the right thing or doing what was like socially appropriate kind of thing. And he was from a generation where when he first got his first job, it's like you stay at your job and you get a good job and you stay at your job and you put in the hours and an honest day's work for an honest day's pay. And he was kind of like in the perfect storm because he was born before the sexual revolution. And then, he divorced my mom. Well, I should say it was more like amicable. I think they both wanted a divorce. And I want to say I was like 7 or 8 years old, right about that. Maybe I was older than that. Might have been like 9. But it was in the 70s. I'm a 80s kid, but I was born in 1968. So, but like my father sort of came through, he was born in a really tough time when you think about it, because we would call him Delta male, but like back prior to the sexual revolution, he was a catch, right? Because he had a good job. He had a degree, came from a large family, not overly wealthy, but certainly a middle-class family. And he knew what he had to do. Like, okay, this is where I go. This is how you be successful. This is what I'm going to do. And the thing is that the game changed on him at some point. I would argue probably right after, like, the sexual revolution and Woodstock and the boomer generation. I don't know if my dad would technically be qualified as a boomer, because he would have been he would have been 30 in 1968. So I don't know if that would necessarily put him in.
Oh, so he'd be either tail end silent generation, first year boomer kind of thing. Something
like that. And so like my dad, and then of course, the 70s, the 80s and everything else. And now the sexual market landscape has sort of changed for him. And so all the things that would have made him like really super attractive back prior, like in the late 50s to mid 60s are like, it's out the window now, because nobody cares if you have a pension, nobody cares if you have put in 20 years at the same job anymore. And I can remember trying to explain that to my mom and my dad back in the day, where I was like, I would jump from job to job to job. I right up until I started working in liquor promotions, and even when I was working for the casinos and everything back in the day, I worked for several different casinos. I was doing the same job. I was doing the same style of work.
Yeah, the same industry, just different jobs.
Same career. Just, you guys suck, and I got a new job over here. If you want to keep me, deal. That's pretty much how things worked out. And then I got
onto that quick. A lot of people really suffered because they weren't catching on to that in the 80s and 90s. I
kind of had to, because I wanted to stay doing what I do. And the only way you could survive in that is to sort of monkey branch from one job into another job. And I remember trying to explain that to my mom and my dad when they were still alive. And like, they thought I was like being really sort of fickle and duplicitous, and like, oh, you're supposed to put in all this time, and they'll, if you put more time in, they would reward you, and you'd be vested in your retirement program, and you get a pension. And I was like, no, Dad, that doesn't happen anymore. And You're not going to you're not going to retire in the villages in Florida, man. I mean, that's out. You're not going to play golf till you get some incurable disease and live happily ever after on your pension anymore. That does not happen now. And I think we still sort of cling to that idea, that 20th century idea. Even today, we still do. But
I think we want to. I think everybody kind of knows it's not there anymore. Like you can't avoid reality to that extent. I think everybody's just, you pretend it's there. Like, you know, those people that really miss their wife and they pretend she's still in the other room and they can smell her and that kind of weird shit.
Yeah. You know, and let me say something, Kiri. Yeah, wage slave mentality. Yes, we call that wage slave mentality now, but prior to, like, say, 1975, we didn't think of it in those terms. You know, you could have one man could make enough money to support a family, and the wife could be, you know, leave it to Beaver, right? It could be like
called it a good job.
Yes, just by holding a good job. And because, I mean, economics were a whole lot different back then. Don't get me wrong. I don't expect we are ever going back to that. But I'm just saying that, like, prior to the sexual revolution, really prior until, like, maybe when I was born, like 68, you know, the social fabric was a whole lot different because the economic fabric was different back then. So a Delta male was a pretty good bet for women back then. Mm-hmm. And then, you know, then they introduced the pill, and then divorce rates skyrocket and marriage rates plummet. And, you know, and we get to, you want to know where the gynocentric social order really took off? Right about the time that we invented the pill. That's pretty much where it's at. On this,
I'm not pushing back so much, as I think it's an interesting thing. Dalrock he hinted at it in a few of his articles, but he never made a full on one. Mm-hmm. The thing about the divorce skyrocketing, it was the remarriage, I think, that caused the issue, not so much divorce, because people used to separate. You could leave somebody for any time, for any reason back then, and people did. The issue was that you couldn't remarry. Like, it was so common back then. Do you remember, like, Archie Bunker, those old 70s sitcoms? There was, like, a trope where, oh, we're in love, we should get married, and then the wife I have a secret, I have a husband, and we have to divorce so we can marry. And then it was always like the goofy hijinks adventure to go ask the guy for a divorce. The husband was always a drunk somewhere, and she left him for the kid's sake. Yeah. So yeah, it's the remarriage part of it, and I think that ties into the divorce aspect of it, which is really what caused so much harm. Right. Especially for the kids, because yeah, you have a stable, financially stable household. Mom takes half the shit. Lawyers take half the shit. There's nothing left. So now you got a shitty deadbeat dad, and then a mom who's kind of sort of broke. Right. I mean, so add it all together. The like, seeing my dad like go through what he did. My dad was married twice. Once to my mom and once to my stepmother. And then after that, it was, you know, right around that time, it was like he was done working more or less. And he had early onset Alzheimer's. So, and we didn't even realize it until like much, much later. But looking at what my dad followed, it was like there was a bill of goods. There was this template that you followed, right? I grew up in this time period, and I get a job, and I do these things, and I put in X amount of dollars, and I put it in my retirement and whatever else. And I'll tell you what's interesting is my father was always, he worked in hospitals and hospital administration. He was a vice president of a very large, I shouldn't say, he was the human resource director back when HR actually had men as HR directors, you know, and then he gradually worked himself up to the vice president of a hospital in Southern California. His first job was at St. Francis Hospital in Linwood, California. And if you know anything about the Watts riots and where Linwood is in perspective, I'm Canadian. I don't. Well, I mean, that was a really rough area, and probably still is a pretty rough area today. And when I look back on that, I go, man, my dad like worked in some really real shit back in the day. But that was his thing. It's like that's what he loved to do. He got his degrees, and he had a degree in biology, and then he got a degree in human resource management later on, because he went back to school so that he would have that degree to build him up that much more so he could become the vice president kind of thing. And, you know, works up the ranks kind of thing. And then when he got to be about 55 years old, and I will never forget this day, because on his 50th birthday, he had this huge soiree, and all of his friends were there patting him on the back, and, you know, they're living it up and drinking wine and doing all this stuff. And I went down, like I was living up I lived in Santa Cruz, California at that time. And I came down for his 50th birthday. We were hanging out and everything. My dad was on top of the freaking world. 5 years later, the hospital is bought out
by another corporation, and they clean house and they get rid of all the upper management and all the middle management, and they put their own people in to that place. And so in the space of 5 years, my dad went from being on top of the world to basically being a consultant, and he never ever recovered financially or ever recovered employment wise from that whole experience, because the game changed on him. He didn't realize the game that he was in. He thought everybody was still playing by the old set of rules. And I mean that in this also, not only in sexual marketplace rules, but also in just sort of life in general rules, kind of rules, right? And so I've always kept that with me in my head, because I'm 54 right now. Next year I'll be 55. And so
happy birthday next year.
But when I think about that, I go, okay, shit can change in an instant. It can change in the blink of an eye. And so you have to be very agile. I think, is that a Taleb-Nisam, whatever, you know, you have to be agile in your thinking as well as your maneuvering in life. Yeah. And so that's always kind of stuck with me. But what the more valuable lesson that I learned is that we don't play by the same rules anymore. So when I talk about the red pill and the blue pill and everything, the blue pill conditioning is really the rule set you've been taught that everybody else is playing by. And then you have a really rude awakening when another company comes in and says, okay, you're laid off. We'll give you your severance, whatever. You're laid off, you're fired, whatever else. And we're going to push our own people in here and have a nice day. And you're too old to go get, ageism, right? You're too old to go and get another job in the same field, because we can hire somebody who's younger than you to do the same job for less money. So, but again, it goes against that sort of Delta male, understanding of like how life ought to be. And again, this also relates to intersexual dynamics, politics, religion, workplace, whatever.
It's life.
Yeah, life in general. So that taught me a valuable life lesson. So.
See, I got that same thing through the military.
Well, my dad did not teach too many lessons to me as a human, as a son, but that was, again, what is it? Reality teaches harsh, but it teaches best.
See, that's something, I never got that stuff. For me, I always had to look at it. For me, it was the military. I watched it. It used to be, you sign up, it's 20 years, you get paid a little less than the civvy side, but you have a pension, it's solid. And they clawed back the pension a good 3 times in the 12 years I was in. Mm-hmm. Took more years, paid out less. They eventually switched it over just for a flat out payment. And I kind of look at the guys, and I was like one of the only guys in the room. We were like 20 of us there. We were all master Siemens at the time, going, like, in this last 10 years, they've done 3 clawbacks on this pension. Do you guys even think it's going to be there by the time we retire? And none of them had thought about it. Yeah. Which was crazy. That was the only thing I thought about, which saved me a ton, because they've done a whole bunch more since then. So me getting out when I did was the best financial move ever.
I'll tell you this, man. When
sometimes you just have to watch other people fail and learn from it.
Yeah. When I started working in the wine and spirits industry, and I was working for an import-export, everybody knows I worked for Van Gogh Vodka back in the day, but I also had plenty of other brands in my portfolio at that time. And then, I mean, 2 of the wisest things I ever did was get ownership interest in some of those brands, right? So, but I knew in the back of my head, I'm kind of like, this is going really well, and I might be able to really make something out, a career out of this. Now, this is me thinking in terms of like 2008, 2009, right?
Right.
And then, of course, 2013 rolls around, and it's bloodbath time, because they divest the company, they sell off parts of it, they take the portfolio and they sell it off to Sazerac and the distributors and everything else, and they're basically like, thanks for working for us for so long, see you later. And it was sort of like my Black Friday kind of experience at that time, but I was prepared for it, because it was sort of like the doomsday script. I knew it was coming. It's like, I always think in the back of my head, what happens if the shit that happened to my dad happens here? And I was ready for it. So that was the good news, but it did happen. And as a result of that, it sucked at the time. Like 2013 was a really rough year for me, but it also prompted me to finish the first book, which of course was published in October 1st, 2013. So
200,000 copies of the audiobook. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you very much. And Sam Botta, I know he's in the house right now. Here, Sam, this is for you. Because I know Ryan hates that, but that's for you, Sammy. We did 200,000 units on Audible. And by the way, people keep asking me, when's the Audible for this book? When's the Audible coming out for book 5?
It's done when it's done.
I just talked to Trey this week, who's doing the read for me on this one. And it will be, we're on track, we're on schedule. It will be at the end of this month as promised. So I think he's already done with the read. I think he's just doing the audio and the file prep and everything else right now, because you of all people know how particular Audible can be.
Oh yeah.
So let me go back through these super chats just real quick here, just flush these things out of here. Compass Mitch says, update from last week on setting boundaries with my girlfriend's mom. Okay. So now she is my ex and blocked me on everything. Good. I got over it faster than I thought. Without you and Myron, I would be in a hole. Thanks for a ton. Here you go, man.
You're goddamn right.
You know why a lot of guys are terrified of that scenario? And the part that gets me is like, do you think this relationship's not dead already?
Yeah.
You know? I think I'd love it too, because what's his face? Not Athel K. Glover. Put that in there. Like, your relationship, if it's already dead and you don't know it yet, this will probably make it happen.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of guys are clinging to that fantasy, not realizing it's already over. They just needed an excuse.
They want, yeah, exactly. They need to be pushed over the edge. If you get to a point where it's like you think you're on thin ice with the relationship, if that's the case, in all likelihood, she's been planning to get rid of you for about 6 months prior to that, because we've been planning way ahead. But anyways, let me get to Vinny here. Vinny says, Rollo, your player's handbook is a great summary of on-game knowledge over the years. However, consider removing YouTube drama and internet slang if you want to stay relevant over the years. I disagree, because I think, honestly, I think YouTube slang is going to be where we're going right now. And I can tell you, you know, let me just throw this out there really quick. One of the reasons why I'm working with Valuetainment right now, and we're going to talk about Matt Walsh and Jedediah Bila here in just a little while. But Valuetainment, one of the reasons why Valuetainment is sort of an up and comer, and if you look at, like, say, companies like The Blaze, Daily Wire for sure. I guess you could throw PragerU in there, and there's a few others. What's happening is you're starting to see these sort of aggregates and these conglomerates coming together where they create their own sort of sound stages and studios, not unlike commercial television did back in, you know, the 40s or the 50s, where CBS and ABC and all, I don't know, Canadian, is there a Canadian broadcast network? CBN?
CBC, you mean?
CBC, is that it? Yeah. Not unlike,
it's more than just news.
Television. Yeah. And so what they do is they get content creators, or they get shows, right? And then they are under the umbrella of whatever that company happens to be at that time. And I would argue that YouTube and like streaming media, like you go and you get your Apple TV or your Roku or whatever it is that you consume media on, that's going to be the wave of the future, if it's not already, really, when you think about it. But I see the pieces being sort of moved at this point right now. So to say, well, YouTube language or lingo or whatever, look how successful a troll and a fat schmuck like Ethan Klein is. 40,000 live views per show, a larger viewership than Tim Pool, who, by the way, already has a larger viewership than CNN when he's out. So I think it's probably here to stay. I mean,
what a world we live in.
No flame on you, but it's like I get it. I understand, and I tried to actually keep it as if you go and if you go and you read Religion, which is my 4th book, I purposely, there's one instance of a swear word in there. I use the word bullshit in Religion. That's there's one instance of any swear word whatsoever in Religion. I did that on purpose because I didn't want to, you know, offend the virgin ears of, you know, Christians.
It's like the PG-13, you get one F-bomb. That's it.
Exactly. And so I threw all that out the window for this book right here. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to write what I'm going to write for this, and we're just going to go with it. So Irish Alpha, Rollo, have your intersectional interests in gender dynamics and heavy metal brought you to the Marilyn Manson Me Too allegations yet? I did talk about that recently. I'll tell you here where I did. You will not believe how blue pill this guy is. Oh, I bet you I would, especially considering how closely aligned he has been with Rose McGowan and Asia Argento, and all of the people who were already very embedded in the Me Too movement, and now live by the Me Too, die by the Me Too. And so I talked about this, by the way, with Andrew Esquire on Legal Mindset on his show, which, by the way, you can go pick up. Just go look up, just search Legal Mindset on YouTube, and I'm sure you'll find it. You just put Legal Mindset and like Rollo Tomasi, you'll find it. We talked about Marilyn Manson on that show, so go have a look at that. And then last but not least, I got to throw this out there again. Sorry, it's $100. My Italian father, greatest man I have ever known. Really? Don't think I am not Italian, and nor do I try to pretend to be one, despite popular rumor. The greatest man I've ever known. Not many can say that. Miss him to death every day. I miss my dad too. I never thought I would, but I kind of do. A kid, 4 kids at the age of 22. Damn. Brooklyn, New York. Brooklyn, New York. Absolutely. A real alpha man, no chaser. Hollywood, Frank Sinatra, handsome, never again. We are done. These men are gone. Well, yeah, probably. Unfortunately so, too, I would say.
I guess.
And then what else do I got here? I got Compass Mitch says, just for clarification, I strongly believe my mom has BPD and kept my ex away from me. Mom planned 6 months to get rid of me, but days prior, my ex wanted to kill herself without me. It was a fun lesson. Well, your idea of fun, go with it.
I was gonna say,
doesn't sound like fun to me. I wanted to also, since we're talking about Father's Day real quick here. No, I did not actually knock up Tori. Just so everybody knows. So, you know, what are we, an hour in? Because people have been, why is she on the thumbnail? To get you in here, so you'll put that comment on. That's exactly why it's on there.
Oh, dude, I forgot to tell you. There was one week, it was the same thing. They gave me a blast of shit because they're like, Rollo put, I don't know what it was. It was like me or Tori on the thumbnail, or Tori was on there, but you were going to talk about me, and they went in there to check it out and shit on me in the chat, and then it was just you and her or something like that.
Too happy or too mad.
Yeah. Damn you guys and your clickbait. I clicked this. I wanted to watch you. I'm like, it's fine.
And for people who don't know, maybe we should explain, if you have expressions like, if you have something like, you won't believe it. If you have something like that on there, that's all. If you have an expression of shock, dismay, disgust. By the way, I don't know if you knew this or not, but I don't know where I saw this or why this shows up in my impressions, but I had some guy who is, he's a verified like medical doctor. And he also, speaking about guys doing, you know, medical doctors making more money online, right? He goes on, he has a YouTube channel and he's got like something like 3 or 4 million subs on it.
Wait, is this Dr. Mike?
I don't know if that's it, but he's a medical doctor and he'll tell you how to like fix common problems like toe fungus or like, you know, how to get your pecker to work or whatever else it is, or what a smoker's lung looks like. And the way he gets, like, he does like a 12-minute video on something, you know, like, and maybe it's a step-by-step thing, 12-minute video. And I'm looking at it and it's like been up for 55 minutes. And it's already at like 4 million views. I'm like, what the hell? And you know what it is? All you gotta do is put something nasty ass, like gross on the you guys are, this is not me, man. I work here. This is like disgusting, man. You could put a zit on the thumbnail and people are like, oh man, I'm clicking on that.
Yeah, they just want the rubberneck. All right, fair enough. Maybe that's the trick.
Yeah,
get a roast beef sandwich and a picture of a chick and put it on all my thumbnails.
Yes, maybe that's it. Maybe you should experiment with that. I bet that you will get more. You will get more and get Lizzo. Yeah, put a fat chick on your put a thin chick and a fat chick. Instant engagement.
Actually, this is good, you guys. I don't know who any of these people are you've been talking about for the last 6 months.
You know who Lizzo is. You just don't know the name.
I might know her.
Aaron, Claire. Aaron, do you know who Lizzo is?
There's a whole lot of her to love. Oh, wait a minute. Is she the one that she's like 100% bad bitch on her DNA? I remember that song. Yeah, that one. That's catchy shit, man.
She is, and I mean like literally, like physically huge. She's huge.
I love that story like the Adele where they lose a bunch of weight, then everybody's like, but her voice happens right after the divorce. Yeah, I know the gimmick.
I want to also throw this out here real quick since we're just coming up on the hour mark here on Father's Day. I think
hit the like, guys, if you haven't yet. You should.
Yes, please like the video. Thank you. But when I talk about fathers, I've mentioned this on a couple of occasions. When we talk about Father's Day in particular, it ends up becoming an occasion to tell men to do better. Men need to do better. Fathers need to do better. If you went to church today, by the way, what was the sermon? Was it about how great men are and how great your father is, or you know, don't compare your horrible dad to your father in heaven, you know, that kind of stuff. I've heard that, by the way.
Really?
For the most part, and this is just sort of an evangelical Christian thing. I don't know for sure, but I do know this is that it is almost universally an occasion to tell men to do better. You're not living up to your responsibility. It's always responsibilities, right? And I've thrown this out there a few times, is like today women get to choose from 3 male archetypes. One is the abuser, the abusive asshole dad who gave me daddy issues, who beat my mom, who is an alcoholic, or he just simply abandoned the family. Or he is ridiculous dad like Homer Simpson, or he is like Everybody Loves Raymond, or you think of the sitcom archetype of the typical stereotypical dad who's just like, he makes dad jokes, you know, that's the best he can do is dad jokes, right? You know,
right.
He can scratch his ass on the weekends and mow a lawn, right? That's pretty much everything. He's the dad that is an imbecile and needs mom to save him from himself. And that has been a standard archetype stereotype of what a dad is certainly on popular media for a very long time. Or else, and this is a newer archetype, is the incompetent dad. It's the dad who doesn't know how to do anything. He needs to hire the hot plumber to come and fix the plumbing, and mom goes, "Ooh, he's a plumber," you know, or the pool boy or whatever. You know, oh, you can't do these things, but so you need to hire a competent man to come in here, and the competency of that guy is usually paired with, like, you know, the virility and sexuality, like sexual prowess, right? So, oh, you can't fix your own car? Well, this mechanic, this hot, steamy mechanic can do it, and you're incompetent, and you could never be what he is, kind of thing. And it's like that incompetent, like he's the guy, and I think this is more of like a millennial thing, but he's the guy who can't drive a stick shift, right? He's the guy who can't tie a necktie. He's the guy who can't change.
Or has to read a digital watch, can't do an analog. I remember that was the old school one too. Yeah.
Right. And so those are like really the choices you get as a woman. And so therefore, what does that prompt women to do is to become their own security provider. Because it used to be, as I was mentioning before, you know, a man prior to the sexual revolution could go and have one job and he could provide for that family, and he had a responsibility, but he also had authority. He was the head of the household. He made the major decisions of that household. And now things have completely changed. So we've got like mothers who want to be both, a perfect mom, but they're also just as good at being dad as dad could ever be. And we've gotten to the point, and I wrote this back in 2013. We've gotten to the point, even now, here we are in 2022, almost 10 years later, and fathers, positively masculine guys, your uncle, whoever, are superfluous. They're nice to have around, but they're not necessary. And in some cases, maybe it's better they're not around, so they're not, you know, so because he's a bad dad. He's a cheater. He's an asshole.
To be fair, when have you ever heard a girl talk about her ex-husband, father of the kids, where he was great?
Yeah.
Well, it's like everybody turned into an abuser right at the divorce hearing.
It's like when I really sound like I'm really vitriolic about this, but like whenever I look at Post Secret and I look at these the postcards they decide to put up for that week on Post Secret, it's usually like oh, dad was an asshole. I'm sending Father's Day cards to my mom every year because she was a better father than you ever could be, Mr. Man. It's like, it's basically an occasion to say, fuck you, dad. That's all. That's pretty much what it comes down to.
It's crazy too, from economics. It's that women are the primary consumers. Like, what was it? 80% of discretionary spending is decided on by the girl.
Yeah.
So it's almost an economic decision to paint men as these kind of assholes, because the girls, obviously a lot of girls have a little indignation. That's the thing that sells, right? So, hey, this husband who's not your husband is an asshole. And you're like, yeah, sounds good. By the way, here's a brand new washing machine. They're like, yeah, come on, kid. I'm leaving dad and we're getting the new Whirlpool.
Hey, let me also throw this one out here, because do you know what I mean when I talk about promise keepers, right?
Of course I do.
When I use that term.
That was me to a T, man.
me being stupid here again is that I'm using an allegory, I'm using a metaphor, I'm using, well, sarcasm, I'm using using alliteration in this. I do not actually, here, you know what, I need to be fully on here. I do not mean Promise Keepers in terms of the Promise Keepers organization, the religious organization, when I say Promise Keepers, okay? What I mean is I'm referring to an old essay of mine, and I think I put it in it's in Positive Masculinity as well. It's called Promise Keepers. I'm using that as my own term, okay? So, because I know what's going to happen. People are going to go, oh, Rollo doesn't know that Promise Keepers are actually these neoconservative religious guys who keep promises and are good for their wives, and they promise to love their wives unconditionally, blah, blah. I know. Stop it, okay?
And alphas are wolves, and yeah.
Stop it, okay? When I say Promise Keepers, here's what I mean, okay? Promise Keeper is the kid who at 15 years old said, my dad's a son of a bitch. My dad my mom kicked him out of the house for whatever reason. He abandoned us. He was a drunk. He was abusive. There was something wrong with dad. I don't know whether it's true or it's not. There was something. Dad was very, very bad, right? And so what the Promise Keeper kid does is he makes a promise to himself and his usually single mother and says, Mom, I'm never going to be like my asshole old man. I promise I will never be like dad. I don't ever want to be like my dad. And what happens is they usually make that promise because, you know, mom's like, oh, good for you. It's like this sort of parental alienation kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And they say, good for you. That's great. I love you. I love you, son. I love you, mom. Right. And then, and then the guy gets to be 23 and he gets into a situation with a girl and he wants to break up with the girl and it's not working out for him and he doesn't know what to do because I've had so many people, like guys would come to me, like young men, like 23, 24, 25. And they go, Rollo, I want to break up with my girlfriend, but I don't want to be like my asshole dad. My asshole dad left my mom. And they're in this torment from like trying to decide whether or not they're going to leave the girlfriend or they're not going to leave the girlfriend. And the whole thing comes down to the promise that they made back when they promised mom that they would always support mom and they would never be a dick and they would never be the kind of man that left mom. But here he is kind of trying to say, well, maybe there was a point to why dad actually left mom because maybe he had a reason to do so. Maybe there was something else that was going on that I didn't know about, or maybe there was some sort of conflict there where dad left and he decided that was what was best for him and what was best for us because he could support us by moving to a different, you know, country or a different
Well, not just that either. Like, because I was like this with my parents. My mom, my stepdad treated her bad. I'm like, I'm never going to do this. But then, like, that's what she was attracted to. That got her. So what makes you think it's so bad? It seems to work. And I think that's what people miss out on. They're always like, I'm going to be better than that guy. The guy that my mom picked over all of these nice guys that weren't doing this. She picked this one. So is it really bad if the other person actually wants it? And you can't say they don't want it. People are marrying assholes all the time. So don't tell me they don't want any.
Yeah.
And so you got to think, like, is it actually being an asshole? Or is it that you don't like it, even though the people that you're trying to attract do? So whose fault is that?
Right. So that's really where the term Promise Keepers comes from, at least from my perspective. In like the red pill, I use Promise Keepers because these guys would literally agonize over not being able to keep their promise to mom because they wanted to break up with their BPD girlfriend, or something wasn't working out for them, or they would get these Promise Keepers will get really pissed off at me for suggesting that men ought to spin plates. Like men, like high value men deserve to cheat. Like that rubs a Promise Keeper absolutely the wrongest way possible because it sounds like what their asshole dad did. And so when they hear something like that on Fresh and Fit, or it's like, you know, men should be able to cheat. High value men should at least have the option to cheat, right? Or have some sort of like sexual selectivity, or even if it's not about cheating, even if it's about like dating non-exclusively, it's kind of like, oh, I've got girlfriends and I've got a roster, I'm spinning plates, and you're not promising, you know, commitment to any of these plates, but the very fact that that's your mentality sounds like dad. It sounds like something dad did to mom, and so therefore they want to fight you, and they want to fight you like more than even just the average dude wants to fight you.
And they ignore the first iron rule of Tomasi. Frame is everything. When people say should you be allowed to cheat? Who's the authority that you're saying should to? Like, who's supposed to give you permission for that?
Right.
And it always boils down to her. The woman needs to give you permission. They don't say it that way, but you start asking, you find out, yeah, well, she'll feel bad. She'll feel bad. They make excuses. Okay, so basically what you're telling me is this girl that you want to cheat on and is like, you know, your wife or whatever, she's the authority in your life and you need her permission to go do what you want to do. And you're going to tell me that you're an alpha male of whatever. And I'm like, come on, man. Come on. There's no authority. You can say God maybe, but God doesn't care if you cheat because everybody's done it and they're still going to heaven.
Yeah, just beg for forgiveness.
And that's the thing. Everybody's so worried. They're all focused on your conversion. How to get laid and how you're alpha shit. And they're like, yeah, Rollo made me into a top tier alpha male of Wolfpack madness. And you're just like, yeah, but his first rule was about frame. You remember that thing? It's like, no. I don't want to piss off the old lady.
Yeah, exactly. I don't want to rock the boat.
Yeah, don't want to rock the boat.
Laid if I go and I try to experiment in any shape, you know, any way, shape, or form.
Like I said, my dad and stepdad, absolute chads, 100%. But the one thing they absolutely did not do is defer to my mother on everything. Now, there was a cost, obviously, because she left the both of them. But it got them pretty far. My stepdad's crushing it with a brand new family that's 30 years younger than him. You can't say it doesn't work.
You know, I see Allie in the chat here. She says, dang, Ryan got me in the Christian corner. Well, I mean, again, it's convictions, but it's like you have to compare. I think one of the things that really throws people off, particularly with like the promise keepers kind of thing, and I don't mean that in the religious sense. I mean that in like what I was just describing, is that when you pair that up with religion, oh man. Yeah, if you've Allie, what I would really suggest you do is go read my 4th book, Religion, because that will sort of help you parse out your religious convictions versus like say objective empirical red pill truths. You don't have to like, you know, be completely nihilistic and turn into an atheist and accept the red pill. Okay. So go check that out. That's the best thing I can tell you. This was funny too. Coach Ryan really is the manosphere Ben Shapiro. You need a yarmulke.
God damn it. All I had to do was be over 6 foot. I couldn't even do that right.
How funny would it be if we could get you and like Aaron Clary to wear yarmulkes on on your show?
I don't know, man. I have a feeling that's not going to end as well as I think it will. Like, it sounds funny, but I'm like, it'd be like, hey, let's put you in blackface. I think that'd be great.
Yeah, why not do that too?
That'll be the joke because you're really white, but now you're not.
My yarmulke, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. God, it's so funny. So anyways, I wanted to also throw out a couple of things too here. As far as like promise keepers is concerned, this also relates back to sort of Father's Day. It also goes back to what today's topic really is, which is should men be able, be able to cheat kind of thing. And I wanted to just, we're going to dig into that here in just a second. But before we get to that, I also wanted to point out that women love cheaters. They absolutely adore cheaters. And you don't believe me? Go and look at how popular a show like Tinder Swindler is. Go look at how popular a show like Bad Vegan is. I don't know if you've seen either one of those on Netflix. You got to have seen Tinder Swindler by now.
I've had it on in the background. My girl was watching it. Yeah, I got the gist. He's an asshole because I didn't get to keep him.
So the prosecution rests its case. My girl was watching it. Yep, I'm sure she was. But as far as like Bad Vegan is concerned, it was this chick who ran a very well-paid woman, started like something like a $2 or $3 million restaurant that was like all vegan restaurant kind of thing, and it pretty much decays and devolves into this really abusive kind of manipulative, exploitative relationship. That if Bad Vegan and or the women that were in Tinder Swindler had involved toxically masculine, positive, conventionally masculine fathers or brothers or uncles or whatever to step in and say, no, you're not getting on that private jet and flying off to, Belarus or wherever the hell you're going with this guy that you met on Tinder half an hour ago. No, you're not going to do that. If there had been
now you're not my real dad, you can't tell me what to do.
Real dad, how dare you? How be you judgmental? This is my one shot at real love. If there had been some man, especially if in this case I'm today being Father's Day, if it was Father's Day and some guy had stepped in, there would be maybe it would be bad television for Netflix. But the fact of the matter is that the reason why almost all the women who end up being the quote unquote victims, they weren't victims because they all voluntarily signed up for this shit. Had there been an involved father, brother, nephew, uncle, even just some dude who had the balls to take some kind of authority over
somebody
that,
to say no,
to step in and say, no, you're not doing this. This is insanity. I got really kind of fired up when,
I thought you were going to say you got run up the flagpole.
I got fired up, and people know this. I got really pissed off at Mikhaila Peterson when she decided that she wanted to just petition her followers on Instagram while she was in Miami. And now, by the way, I know why.
Oh, was that the one trying to find a new dad?
She was looking for somebody to watch Scarlett while she was in Miami. And again, like I said, I know why you were in Miami. That's where I'm going to leave that, but which pissed me off that much more. But I didn't know that at the time when I was sort of reacting to this. But she was going on to Instagram, petitioning her Instagram followers for a babysitter or somebody to come and like take Scarlett off her hands so she could go do what she was there to do. And then
I don't know if I trust the internet to watch my kid. I'm not going to lie to you.
Right. Right. And so the first thing out of my mouth is like, A, where's the father? Where's Andre in all of this? B, the new guy that she just married, also Jordan Fuller. How the fuck are you cool with that? And then lastly, Jordan Peterson, you're the grandfather of Scarlett. How the fuck are you not stepping in and saying, oh, it's okay, she can do what she wants to? Like, that to me is probably more dangerous than any of the Tinder swindler girls who went and flew off on this guy's private jet and got bilked out of, $250,000 by taking out loans for this dude because he's like some special Mossad agent or some shit like that. And they bought into the fantasy of this stuff. At least they can say, well, I got caught. I got swept up in the fantasy of it. You don't get that with Mikhaila Peterson. And especially if you are a man that is involved in that woman's life, in her life, 30-year-old Mikhaila Peterson, if you are a man involved in her life and you're okay with that, particularly Jordan Fuller, who is now her husband, you don't step in and take some authority in that situation. You want to know what's wrong with men? Not, how come we need better fathers? They need to do better. You need to do better by stepping in, being judgmental, and taking authority in situations that are potentially life-threatening to children. Yeah. Yes, you have my permission. Right ahead.
I will tell you that is the exact same type of guy that asked, shouldn't I be able to cheat? Exact same thing. These guys, a lot of these guys, I've seen them. I've seen the fathers talking to their kids. They don't want their daughter to hate them. And so they will not push, because all she has to do is get mad. She snaps at dad. He calms down. He actually trains his daughter to snap at him every time she wants to get her way because she knows he'll back off. And so he'll back off. And then she gets to do whatever she wants. And every single dad who could, like you said, I'll tell her no. I'll tell her to stay home. She'll hate him for like a month or until she's 20, whatever. But then she's like, hey, Dad, thanks for not getting me knocked up by that basketball team by telling me not to go to the Globetrotters game wearing that halter top.
Exactly.
And so a lot of dads, since they want to be their daughter's best friend, they actually, the same way that guys simp for chicks or guys have one-edits for their girl, they have it for their daughters too. Yes,
that is very true. People have accused me of that as well. And I'm like, no, I trust my judgment. I trust my instruction and my teaching. Like, people say, well, don't you want to step in and take over for, like, if I have not trained my daughter to be able to make good decisions like that, then it's way too late by the time she's 18.
It's more than that, though. Like, I know what you're saying. It's more than that, because your daughter, in a platonic way, the same way that your wife has to look up to you to respect you when you have boundaries, your daughter has to do the same. So the same way you have to game your wife, you said, or game a chick you're meeting at the bar, in a platonic way, as a father figure, you have to kind of game your daughter too, because she's still got girl brain, so she responds to the girl triggers. In fact, there was a great Married Red Pill article on this, that a girl's father is the only man in her life who validates her for a reason other than sex.
Right.
So it's one of the, and you're literally setting the terms of, okay, other than what you offer, like, what do you offer men? What do you bring to the table? That was your dad's job to show you, because he's the only guy that you'll meet that doesn't want to fuck you,
Exactly. And has your best interests in mind. And he's not being nice to you. He's not like, being tough love with you because he's trying to get in your pants. Hopefully he's not trying to get in your pants, right?
I hate how we have to preface that every time, because there's always going to be some wacko in there.
And by the way, and I feel bad for doing this now, but I just caught myself doing that, because we have to think of it in terms of like, well, I have to preface this because I don't want anybody to think that I'm weird like that. It's like, there was a time you never had to do that. You would never.
And this is exactly why I got this fucking don't eat paint mug. literally for that reason. Stop taking things literally like this when you're making the point. I'm
Right.
drinking out of the cup to explain to you why I shouldn't have to preface.
Yeah.
I guess I'm a failure of my own mug.
I want to also just really, I'm going to get to the super chats here in just a second. Thank you guys. So I wanted to also talk about why it is that women love cheaters. So we're going to get to that here in just a second, but before I do, I would be remiss if I did not also bring this up. And I, like I was saying before, it's like you have to preface things today as a man. You want to know why they're like 77, 78% of your teachers from preschool all the way up to postgraduate school are going to be female is because of exactly what I just did here. Which is I've got to preface things. I got to walk on eggshells because if I don't say things exactly right, or if I don't put a caveat in there, if I don't like, you know, put an asterisk by something, then it's a thought experiment. And you know what we're not supposed to do. The Rush's razor, you know, Rush v. Razor, we're not supposed to have thought experiments. And even if you're not saying that, that's how it will be taken. So you have to always preface that stuff. It's like no homo, you know, like, but you're a really good looking dude. Like that's that kind of thing. Right. And so, when you get to that point, you have to realize that especially when you become like an older guy, when you become like, say, like 35 to 45, somewhere in there, you have to be very, very careful because people will think you're the creepy old man. What do I mean by that? Well, I think it's pretty obvious, but I'm going to give you a quick breakdown of this. There was a guy who was, I want to say he was a cancer. He was an oncologist, I think. And the dude it was in Arizona, and it might have been Phoenix, it might have been Scottsdale, I'm not really sure. Dude goes into Barnes and Noble, and he goes into the children's book section of Barnes and Noble. He's looking for a children's book for his grandchild, for like a friend of his or something like that. He's looking for a child's book to give to him as a birthday present or as, you know, whatever else. So he's there looking for a kid's book in the kids section, and Barnes and Noble employees kick him out because they think he's there to sort of like creep around and look for kids in Barnes and Noble. It turned into a very big story. And I want to say it was a lawsuit as well because the guy happened to be an apologist and had the money to prosecute to do something like that. And I think he settled out of court just for an apology, but they made a big deal out of it because here's a guy who can't go into a child's book, into Barnes and Noble child book section and not be, look, you know, what's this guy doing? Like just the man being there is creepy. It didn't used to be that way. We didn't have to preface things. We didn't have to go, okay, Barnes and Noble guys, I am actually a heterosexual man and I am 38 years old and I'm an oncologist. I work at the hospital up the street here. I'm looking for a book for my niece who is 5 years old. I'm not here to creep around. Thank you very much. Right.
And you can't blame it on Drag Queen Story Hour. This is conservative soccer moms driving this paranoia. Right. So everybody who's talking about it's the liberals. Like, no, man.
Yeah. We're okay with Drag Queen Story Hour, but we're gonna look sideways at a guy who's in the store to look for a kid's book, right? And maybe that's where we're at right now because I don't think we should have Drag Queen Story Hour either, but that you know that's the state where we're at, particularly when it comes to masculinity. And I can go here and I can give you all kinds of quotes from Dr. Warren Farrell's book, The Boy Crisis. Men raise better children than women. Single men raise better children than single women do. That is a statistical fact. So when we, one thing you'll always see when we talk about like how bad dad is and how it's Father's Day and men need to do better kind of thing, they'll always say, well, we need more men in the household. We need more fathers in the household. The problem is that we've systematically removed them from the household. For Hypocrisy doesn't care.
I was going to say, can I devil's advocate the dad thing?
Sure.
This is the funniest part. I totally agree. You're right. They actually do studies on this. The single father households do way better by a large margin. The caveat to it is there's so few of them, it's hard to call it a statistical certainty. Yes. And it's so much harder for dads to get primary custody that you're basically self-selecting for the best dads.
That is true.
So I in full disclosure, still right. I would still say as more dads pop up, it's still going to be there. But right now, just realize Team Dad is winning and we got our finger on the scale a bit. So there, throw you guys a bone, you goofy feminists.
Yeah, I looked at stupid. I looked at I don't know if I have it queued up and available right now, but the fact that when and I forget what I've heard different statistics for this, so I'm just going to go off the cuff for this one because I don't have Rob Henderson or Steve Stewart Williams on tap here, but I think it was
What's wrong with you?
I know, I'm sorry. I think it was Steve Stewart Williams, and I believe the stat was from The Ape Who Understood the Universe, is that when the biological father is kicked out of the house and the mother brings in a new lover or a new suitor, a new boyfriend, or new daddy, that the incidence of child abuse, sexual and or otherwise, is astronomically higher. Like in some cases, 100% higher, 100 times as likely to have child abuse from a new non-biological father in the house, which of course then relates to infanticide, which we can also compare to like the alpha male coming into the troop, killing the infants in the primate troop, and maybe not killing them, but certainly favoring his own young over that of the prior rival alpha who's no longer in the house anymore. Biological fathers are much better fathers than stepfathers, yet we praise stepfatherdom above and beyond all sanity right now. He's not the dad. He's not the stepdad. He's the dad who stepped up, right? He's the dad who's signing up for his own retroactive cuckoldry is what he's doing. But so like when I see stats like that, and then you can compare them with like, well, fathers raise better children than single mothers do. Yeah, I do. It is a statistical anomaly. That's something that would need to be controlled for, I would presume as well. But I mean,
but it looks promising.
But see, that's not the stats we get. Whenever Father's Day rolls around, there is always an article. And by the way, I was just quoted in what the heck was the name of it?
Congratulations.
Yeah, I was
Jezebel magazine.
Not a Jezebel. I'm sorry. No, it was the Washington Examiner. And in fact, I can I can put it here in the chat real quick if you'd like. It's to all the good fathers out here. This one's for you. This is, of course, by John McGillian. He's quoted me on several occasions as well. But I am now in here. Let me just put this in the chat. That's it right there. That is the Washington Examiner story that was released. I think it was last night or today. It was meant to be read today on Father's Day. So there you go. If you want to go and check that out, a lot of the stuff that I'm referring to today, I've been pulling out of that. Also, I think another thing that we need to start thinking about is also as well when we're talking about clarifying terms and data sets as well, is I'm always seeing. And this is like across the board. It could be Candace Owens. It doesn't have to be, Daily Wire, but it's like across the board. We're always coming down on black fathers right now and saying, well, black fathers need to be more involved with their kids, and black fathers this and black fathers that.
Wait, aren't they though? Yeah,
they are. That's just the problem. The problem is that they're not marrying the mothers of their kids. So they'll quote statistics on single mothers, particularly in the black community right now, which is astronomically higher than it is in the white community. When I quote the stat, what is it? 42% of births in the United States, and this is by my last reckoning, 42% are born out of wedlock in the United States right now. If you adjust for white versus black versus Latino versus Asian, black mothers are like through the roof. They offset that average. I want to say it's in the 60% percentile. I'm not really 100% sure. However, the fact remains is that the reason why we say there are absentee fathers or these guys are just banging these ladies and they're just leaving them or whatever, the only reason why we say black fathers are not involved with black mothers and their families and their kids is because they're not married. If there is no marriage contract, no marriage certificate, everything is illegitimate. And they do not want to make that distinction there because statistically speaking, black fathers are way, way more involved with their kids than at any other time in history. They're just not marrying the women.
So it's just like from your dad's generation where they weren't able to jump from job to job to job to adapt.
Right. There's a socioeconomic aspect of it as well, but there's also the marriage aspect of it. It's not a problem with involved fathers. It's a problem with marriage. That's the problem. So when people go, Rollo, how come you're so down on marriage? You're married for 26 years, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I am, because I think marriage is a great institution. I think you ought to be married. Unfortunately, I can't get behind the way that we do it now. And you know who else can't? Black fathers. White fathers, they can't get behind that, and so therefore they are vilified as being sort of these absentee deadbeat dads who aren't involved in their kids' lives, no matter what the actual numbers are of them actually being involved with their kids. It's just that they're not married to mom, whether mom wants to be married or not, because she's got her OnlyFans and she's on Instagram and she's looking for the guy who's the man she deserves in her life. Meanwhile, dad's paying. What about the guys who are paying child support? I would love to see numbers of the guys who are like not pay the deadbeat dads versus guys who make their payments every fucking day. They're there. They go to the little league games. They're really involved with their kids' lives. They're just not married to mom. And it's the idea, and this is, by the way, and I lay this right at the feet of conservatives, of the trad cons, is that until you get it out of your fat heads that marriage is not the metric by which we're going to measure involved fatherhood, until you get that out of your heads, yeah, you're still going to get these great articles about, oh, dad needs to do better. No, dad is doing better. He just doesn't want to marry mom because it's a bad deal for him. It's a raw deal.
And they keep throwing numbers too, as if, look, the reason these guys aren't doing this isn't because, oh, the facts and the figures. It's because their parents killed the idea of a marriage for you. Everybody now who's getting married has 2 happily married parents. Mm-hmm. Nobody who was divorced thought it was a good idea. Well, very few. And yeah, so we aren't stupid. You can't lie to my eyes. I just watched it happen. I watched my mom go through 2 marriages. I'm like, I'm not about to go doing that for myself. Are you crazy? But there was a good man. I'm like, my dad was a good man. Didn't save him. Yeah. Fuck that.
Well, I mean, and again, I've seen article after article from like clinical psychologists or marriage counselors, I think it is. And they're female marriage counselors who will say they're noticing it's unignorable now that so many good couples or like women are divorcing good men. And they're there. The only reason they're there at marriage counseling is so that they could say that they went to marriage counseling, so that when we tried, when it comes divorce time, they say, well, I tried everything I could. And so give me the money.
I wonder, there's got to be some kind of legal requirement for that the lawyer is suggesting, like you need to go through this process first.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised. I'd have to look into that. I don't know. The family law is depressing enough. I hate researching anything.
I know. I tell you, if you guys really want, I hate that it's depressing at all, but like if you really want some good information, go watch this documentary called Divorce Incorporated. And you want to talk about fatherhood and everything else. I mean, when it comes to child custody and everything, like people ask me like, well, you got to get a prenup and then things will be better for you. Like watch that movie and you will understand exactly why prenups are completely useless. Especially when it comes to kids. Kids can't be involved in a prenup. Okay. Nope. If you don't have kids and I want a prenup. Okay. Well, prenup doesn't have anything to do with child support. Okay. You can say, well, I want to protect my assets. Okay. Well, if you have a kid, guess what? You're on the hook for child support. And now how are we going to get your assets? Well, through the child support. There's lots of different ways to sort of nullify a prenup. And really prenups are only for very rich guys who are like thinking about it in the first place. So anyways, let me get back to the super chats because we're getting a little behind here. Lord Panic says, Rollo, afternoon, Rollo, if an alpha male looks good, alpha male, don't laugh. Wait till we get to the end.
Okay.
Good, makes money, knows game, has no friends, and his girlfriend finds out. Will that be somehow detrimental to his relationship? Or is he a Sigma?
So like, what a very, very specific abstract idea. This is no offense to this guy. He gave you £10 super chat. He's a good person. I get it.
Thank you very much.
You're focused so much on these abstract concepts. Like what if your guy is an alpha wolf, but on Tuesdays, the moon's at foot, like slow down. In real life, none of these convoluted scenarios happen. Here's what happened on cheating. 2 things. 1, the guy's discreet about it. The girl kind of turns a blind eye and is like, whatever, I'd rather have him here than not here. 2, he gets caught. He begs for forgiveness, and now the girl loses respect for him. He embarrasses her in public because, oh, you're with the cheating husband. So she leaves him basically because her reputation matters more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
That's the common scenario. That's the ones that happen. When we talk about red-pilled versus blue-pilled cheating, that's the one. And the difference is framed, just like before with the guy with like, should a man be, like, who's the should? If you treat the girl in this situation as the authority, when you cheat and you get caught, even the word caught, the referee caught you.
Yeah, that was what I was going to get to. Yep.
And what is that? What is Royce's quote about that? She'll forgive you for anything but being a pussy. Or how did the quote go? You know the one.
Something like that.
She'll forgive you for anything but being weak about it.
5 years of beta, or 5 minutes of alpha trumps 5 minutes of beta, or 5 years of beta. Right?
So unapologetically. Now, like she can still leave. Now, there's no hard and fast rules, but if you're that guy who has to go get some elsewhere, and that's a whole other discussion, then yeah, be discreet about it because you understand her reputation matters more than knowing if you're dicking some other chick on the side. Right. So keep it quiet. Don't do it in her friend circle. Don't embarrass her publicly. Don't pull a Tiger Woods chick. She knew he was fucking all kinds of strange on the road, but he kept it quiet, and it was nobody from the country club. As soon as the news found out, that's when she became the victim. So there's your answer, Panic. It's not the one you asked for, but I think it's the one you need. There you go. There you go. I would say, tell that bitch to be cool. Be cool, bitch. No, here's what I would say is, first and foremost, I hate to go all neuro-linguistic Ross Jeffries programming on you here, but the fact that you would say, what if she finds out? Yeah. And why would that be a word? Why would that be a consider? Who cares? Who cares? So I think really what he's saying is like, what if I do everything right? What if I do looks right? My looks are great. I make a lot of money and I'm very socially savvy and I know enough game that I can interact with people, but I have no friends. Well, again, right by who? Skills, let's say you went through all the steps to be like yoked, jacked, and juicy as fuck, right? You're tan, jacked, and juicy, and you make a shit ton of money. You make 6 figures. And you know game well enough to get the girlfriend. First of all, why do you have a relationship in the first place if you've maxed out all those things? And then second of all, it's like if you have all of that, you didn't make any friends along the way. You don't have any guys at the gym you hang out with. You don't have any entrepreneur associates that you hang out with. And you know game, but you learned it just from reading books and applied it well enough to get a girlfriend. I don't even want to go that far. It's, hey, if I do everything that she wants me to do, can I do something that I want to do afterwards? That's basically what I'm hearing. Stop asking permission to live your own life. There you go. Stop asking permission. And that's all that is. The reason why you say, what if she finds out? You're asking permission. Do you think my stepdad apologized when he got caught sleeping with the secretary? No. Yeah. No. And she's still stuck with him for another 12 years, man. Look, we're the 2 R's of the sphere now. Yes. Nice. We need at least one more. Yes, you were the 4th R, right? Damn straight. It says it right on the back of the mug. All right, what do we got to give him? Here, you get. I'm attacking the darkness. Sancho Bohemian again. All right, this is for Father's Day. Thank you. I only have one. I have 1,000 sons, actually. No, my son is Ned. I have one daughter and one Ned. And no, he's not my baby. He's not my little boy. He's my dog son. Yes, he's my dog son. This is for Father's Day. Rian, Uncle Alpha, Super Delta Gamma. Fucking Christ. What? You guys are killing me. Just go over and play Zombies or whatever the hell he's playing right now with my face. Zomboid. Yeah. That's what we do on the Fridays. We have the team there. It's pretty funny. Yep. It's like Mystery Science Theater 3000 with the red pill guys. And it is highly entertaining. You'll probably have more subs on that than your channel very soon. Dude, revenue rise. It's crazy. By the way, the main character is you. I play Roger Tomarso. Thanks. I know. And the zombies all wear Make Women Great Again hats. You can do the math on this one. It's an inside joke. Wait, I gotta read the end of this. This was funny as hell. Rollo, you're the man. Ladies, if you want a daddy, you all know where I'm at. I be the plumber. It's like the sexy plumber. Don't look at his ass crack when he's down working on your sink. wait, I got this too. Did somebody order sausage? Wow. Compass Mitch, again, thank you for $5. It was a hard lesson, but something I needed. Good for you. Again, thanks a ton. Well, do better now. Do better now. That's actually, I'm stealing a line from Fresh. Do better. Thanks, Apex, for that. $5. I believe it was a sticker. Matthew Rankin says, thanks, Rollo, thanks for the work, Rollo. I love hypergamy. I do too, actually. And the 90-10 rule. Are we at 90-10? Is that how? That's horrible. It's inflation, right? It's the modern inflation. Now we're at 90-10. Damn it, Trudeau. You keep doing it. You can't keep doing it. Our fault. Stay in the gym and grow money muscles. Life's great. These podcasts are add to my gym motivation for me. Good for you. Thank you very much. Nice. I much appreciate you. I appreciate you. Jay Peterson, his attitude towards his daughter was reinforced because he was a sick child. Was he? I guess he was a sick child. Thomas,
Thomas. Are there actual statistics on what percentage of men are truly deadbeat dads? I would like to go. Now I'm going to have to go look at that. So I put my money where my mouth is.
You can look into the Ontario Sunshine List if you want to. They actually have a deadbeat dad list online. So like new job hires can look to see if their dad's in arrears and stuff. It's actually a big issue now where guys are absconding to places without extradition because they're like, they get rooted out of the country because I can't afford to live. They want more money than I can make. David Foley, great example.
I know. And I have to, since we're bringing this up, I got to bring it up as well. Kevin Samuels was one of those dudes back in the day, according to what's her name? God, what's that girl's name?
It doesn't matter.
A breakdown on her. But
yeah, now you can't even get a good stat on it because are they a deadbeat dad because they don't want to pay or because they can't pay? So you'll never get a solid answer.
Flight risks. I know they get a passport and leave the country so they don't have to pay child support for a kid that they don't know that necessarily is their own. By the way, I also want to point out, since we're on that topic here, I'll dig up the stat for that in just a second for this other thing I'm about to tell you. But if you are the guy, if you're a man and you are the father, and I'm always joking around with Torsia today, but if you're the father of the kid, and then this is the real serious thing, if you're not and the baby is born, there's like I don't know if it's in the United States, but there's legislation on the books or it's about to come around where they're saying, well, I think this is in Utah, where they expect the father of the child to pay all of the prenatal care for that mother, and it was supposed to be attached to some like abortion bill or something like that. And so it was sort of a sneaky roundabout way to get past or get around the idea of like you had to have a DNA test, because as it stands right now, whoever's name is on the birth certificate that the mom puts on the actual birth certificate, that's the dude. And unless you contest that at the time, or you have reason to contest that, and who's going to go, is that kid really mine? Like, unless you have a reason to do that, then whoever's on the thing is on the hook. Whoever's on the birth certificate is on the hook. I want to say it's Utah that was trying to do this, but they were saying like, okay, well, if you're the father, then you have to pay for the prenatal care for the kid. And I think they were trying to throw a bone to like the pro-lifers or something like that, right? But the sort of follow-on effect is, yeah, I'd be happy. I'm 100% for that law. Because what it would require is that there has to be a DNA test required by law to determine whether or not the kid that's in the uterus is actually your child. And if it's not, here's what I would add to that. If it's not, and she's trying to tell you that it is, she is now on the hook for birth fraud, and she's got to fund the money that you were going to put towards the prenatal care in the first place.
Who's going to do that, though? Imagine tanking your political career.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And it will never see the light of day because they'll figure that out, I'm sure, at some point. But the fact that there's no mandatory DNA test and whoever mom puts on the birth certificate is the actual father, and you're on the hook unless you contest it, that just even the fact that they would like try to propose a law like that draws attention to that fact. And I think that's probably enough to go, whoa, we don't want to do that. But I'll see if I can dig those up. That's actually good. I want to find out, like, because he's right. Women make it sound like it's 100%. Like, they're all deadbeat dads. Any guy who's paying child support, he's got to be a deadbeat dad.
Right.
Black-pilled melanin. Being a 31-year-old black bachelor with 0 kids feels amazing. I'm sure it does. I know so much, but I try to warn the younger guys of what I know. So glad I knew my dad. I was never super macho, but I'm calm and logical. Dark things are coming. Okay.
What? What dark things?
Maybe
you can't just throw that out there and not give us something.
The second half of season 4 of Stranger Things.
Son of a bitch.
It's Vecna. Vecna's coming. ML, the Peterson, for Jordan Peterson to adopt her daughter's diet and many things more shows that he has fallen into her frame. Yeah, I would almost argue that that's probably the case. Certainly, ML, it's certainly the case that she is running his show now. She admits as much, and he admits as much. When he was supposed to be getting, did you read that tweet, by the way? When
no, which
Jordan
one?
Peterson, he made this big announcement. It's actually, you can go to his Twitter account, and if you look at his the pinned tweet that he has, it's something like, "I'm leaving Twitter, and my PR
and his handler will handle the tweets now.
I can't handle this anymore. I'm an old man, and I can't do this anymore," kind of thing. And then literally it came right after he was critical of the fat chick that was on the Sports Illustrated cover, right?
All these people attacking him. One fat broad kills the career.
you know, I should just shut my mouth, right? And then what happens is like he starts mouthing off about some like really hot girl or something later on. I'm like, dude, just stay on. It's more entertainment at this point, anyways. So, just be entertaining. You know, if you can't be like straight, at least be entertaining.
He cares too much. He doesn't have enough irreverence. I think that's what his big problem's been the whole time. Is he just wanted to help. He really wanted to help people, and he wasn't buying into the theater at all. And he took everybody who attacked him. He took it personally, and so yeah, I could see that burning you out.
Yep. Yeah, it is. And I don't think he was sort of cut out for this in the first place. And I don't that's not a burn. Sure. That is not a burn. There's a lot of people who aren't cut out for this kind of stuff. And like as I said before, if you get into this niche, into this fucked up world that you and I are in right now, and you have demons, or you have an addiction, or you have something that follows you from your previous life into your manosphere, online influence, whatever your niche is, that your influencer life, if you have, and you make a lot of money, the worst thing you can do is give an addict a lot of money. And that applies in a lot of different ways too. I don't mean just in chemical dependencies as well. So if you're not prepared for that too much, too young, too fast, that's something you got to be worried about. CO Lulz says, we have heard a few times about Robert Greene's 48 Laws of Power, more than a few. Do you recommend his book about seduction? I think he means The Art of Seduction. Have you read that? Do you like Art of Seduction?
I have not. I don't know. It didn't appeal to me on the surface. Really? I was hoping somebody would recommend it.
I like Art of Seduction, but you have to take it with a grain of salt because it is.
There it is.
Well, it is Robert Greene. Okay. Robert Greene, when it comes to strategy and war and logistics and logic and objective, he's got the history background in it. He's got the classical studies background. He's fantastic at that. And I think The Art of Seduction is a good book. It's not his best book, but I think it's a pretty good book. But it's good in this. I think people, when they read Art of Seduction, they think, oh, this is a book on game. Robert Greene, the author of 48 Laws of Power, is going to teach me how to get the girls, right? No, that's not what it's about, because seduction is not just about banging hotties. Okay. It's also about how politicians. Good is it? It's also, yeah. Well, why would I bother? So what you're saying, Rollo, is that this is a worthless piece of shit. No, what I'm saying is that seduction also applies to politicians, to televangelists, to this used car salesman that you're going to meet.
Okay, so it's almost more of like a how to win friends and influence people
it's
charisma.
It's the mechanics of it. So it's not, I mean, they'll say, oh, here's the coquette and here's the personality side. He makes a lot of sort of like, he wants to categorize different personality types into, here's how you can sort of like manipulate and seduce this particular personality type. And for what it's worth, it's not too bad. But I think over the years, and I mentioned this with Jack Napier not too long ago, because he wanted to do a review of the Laws of Human Nature, which was the last book that Robert Greene has done. And if you read 48 Laws of Power and then you read the Laws of Human Nature, you can tell there has been a fundamental shift in the way he thinks about, like, he's very apologetic for certain things, and particularly with respect to like intersexual and intergender dynamics now. So if there's some sort of law of human nature that is unflattering to the feminine, he goes over the top to say, but men do it too, and they're worse because of this. It's almost like David Buss does the same shit, right? That's why, like, you were asking me before about like was it Jeff Miller? David Buss is, if there's anyone that I'm even more frustrated with, it's not Jeff Miller, it's David Buss, because
even more than Pinker
knows better. He knows what he has the data sets and the math is worked out right there. And he's like, no, this math problem doesn't really work out that way. It works out towards to flatter women, right? No, it doesn't.
I almost got to wonder if it's just they got to do that publicly. Like they hope the audience is smart enough to get it, or do they
want to keep their tenure? They got to do it publicly.
But I mean, I get that, because didn't what's his face, the Galileo, wasn't he doing that where he talking about the heliocentric universe and still had to tie it into Jesus, so that way the church didn't do it and he didn't do it well enough, so they
throw him a bone. It's I forget the guy. Was it David Woodford said this? Stephen Woodford says this. It's called Jesus smuggling. It's like you have all this data stuff and it kind of doesn't look too good for like Christianity, or look for Roman Catholic Church, whatever. But you got to throw in. But Jesus said that the earth circled around the sun. Here it is. Or you could sort of interpret it that way.
Dude, my Woman of Willendorf meme is really taken on a new life. That, you guys know the one, the fat stone sculpture that was like the first goddess of humankind. And the more we go forward, we keep going back to monkey, and now that's the god. Every time we're like Jesus, we're literally Jesus smuggling vaginas into evolutionary psychology.
I love that. That's actually good. We're cooter smuggling.
Yeah, cooter smuggling. That's catchy. Rolls off the tongue.
David Buss, stop cooter smuggling in your data sets.
But that's the thing. Everybody does it. Companies are doing it because women spend the money. Churches are doing it because who's looking for forgiveness and sitting in the pews? Moms.
Cooter smuggling, man.
Yeah.
This is now the
dads are doing it because they don't want to piss off mom and that. Everybody's worshiping the feminine form. And I don't know about you guys, but I like my girl. I don't like all girls. In fact, some of them are downright shitty. Casey Anthony, I'm going to go out on a limb. Not a fan.
Nope.
Not a fan.
You too, huh?
Amber Heard, not a fan.
Turd. Alex says, does approaching lower your SMV, your sexual market value? How do I get over the feeling I'm auditioning when I approach? You need to make it something that here's the thing, you need to internalize it is what you need to do, more or less. If it still feels like an act, guess what? It is an act. You have to internalize. You have to be the game, as I've said about a cajillion times.
Yeah. Do you remember the old mystery thing about
lower
that?
Your SMV. I'll let you. You field that one. Does approaching lower your SMV?
Well, if you don't approach, you're not getting any. Girls would rather sit there in a room and stare at you for hours than go home alone than approach. They're terrified of rejection. So if you're worried about it losing, you're just thinking like a woman. Don't do that. Here's the thing. Mystery. Top hat aviators. That's too old. Picture this.
Do I have to wear the black nail polish?
Every time you approach a girl, doesn't matter how it goes. Does she like you? Does she hate you? Does she slap you? Does she throw a drink in your face? Does she get an ice cube in your hair? You realize that somebody's like, I'm going to give her $100 after this conversation. So no matter what happens, you automatically internalize she's getting value out of this one. So then you go in there with the focus of, what am I getting out of this? And Rollo's right, where you got to internalize being the game. Here's the thing. It's not an interview. Hi, if you like me enough, can I have some poon? That's not how it works. It's, hi, are you crazy? Or can I probably stick around with you and be one of my options that I sleep with? And that just that shifting of, am I willing to spend time with this chick or not? Changes everything. Changes your body language, changes the dynamic between you two. And you're going to notice, and I always forget the name. What's the one? Mystery did it and you used to do it where you like hold my drink and you go do your set back in the day.
Oh yeah.
What's it? Compliance tests or something?
That's a compliance test, but it's also anchoring. So like it's actually a little of both. Yeah.
That's the process of making the other person qualify themselves to you. And that's when a guy internalizes, like, just by approaching you, I'm fun, I'm smart, I'm attractive, I'm definitely better than whatever boring shit you're doing now. And you realize you're offering this to somebody and you come at it like, so what am I going to get in return? And it's all subtext. You're not going to say, what do you bring to the table like a fucking autist? Don't ever say that. Take that as the one solid Rian rule. Never ask what she brings to the table because I'm going to fucking hit you with one. But that's it. And then the girl will just kind of believe you and they'll go in. That's what frame's about. She'll fall into that frame. Oh, wow, this guy must be important because he's looking for me as if it's like a job interview and I got to sell why I want to work for his company.
Yep.
And girls will fall into that because they want you to be better than them. Who wants you to be worse than them? Who would want, I'll sleep with that guy. He sounds like a piece of shit, but I could fix him. No. They're like, this guy is great. Yeah, of course I'll hold your drink while you do your set. Of course I'll hold your necklace. Of course I'll tell you why I'm a good date.
It's the hell yes girl is what it is.
But that's the thing. She doesn't know she's a hell yes girl until she gets that glimmer from you. And sometimes it's as easy as, like, I'm the prize. And what about you is worth hanging out with the prize? Subtext, don't say it like that, please.
Yes. Oh, so the script, people like writing this shit down right now.
I hope you guys aren't. You deserve what you get if you do this.
No, man. I've got it.
Bring to the table.
Right here. Okay, let me. What is? I am the table. Whoa, no, you're not. Monkey bit. Let's fire through these. Oh, here you go. Sorry, my friends, but I got to give you this. Happy Father's Day, gentlemen. Any news on the Audible version of the Player's Handbook? Yes. If you had been here about, I don't know, half an hour, 45 minutes ago, you would have heard that it's going to be at the end of this month. Can't wait to hear for the narrated version. Thank you very much. And it, like I said, it will be out at the end of this month very soon. And what else do we got here? Ryu says, I can't even see my kids. I've never hit anyone. I pay my child support all because my ex lied to the court and the court took her lies as truth. welcome to Father's Day 2022. You know, it's funny. It's like if I'd have read this super chat in 2013, it would be just the same par for the course. Once again, I hate to belittle your pain there, my friend, but it's yeah, I get it. Unfortunately. And what do we got here? Thank you for your dedication. Are you dedicated? I'm dedicated. And
half dedicated.
Happy Father's Day. Rollo, raise the glass. Slaint. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much. And Soralita Base. I hope I'm saying bass. Base is the fish or is it the base?
Yeah.
Happy Father's Day, Rollo, and to all the dads in the live stream. Yes. Thank you very much, Soralita. Got to roll your R's.
How do you do that? I can't trill.
Why do I feel cucked after my parents' divorce?
That's a what?
Cucked. You mean, is it because you okay, maybe cucked is probably the wrong term, but
like guilty?
Let me see if I can clarify this. Do you feel bad? Because I think what happens, and I think this happens to a lot of kids too, but how old were you when your parents split up?
I'm going to guess somewhere between 5 and 8.
So you were very young, right? I was very young too. I was like I said.
Oh, for me, yeah, I was 5.
You were 5. Okay. So I think there's a difference, like when like your parents split up when you're like 8 or 9 or 5 or whatever, when you're a young kid, and you go, okay, it is what it is. You know, mom and dad, this or whatever, right? You don't have this sort of,
you don't have a frame of reference.
Well, you don't have a frame of reference, and you don't have this preconceived idea of what, oh, love should be like mom and dad, right? I would tell you this, this is not happening, but if I was to like divorce my wife or we were to split up for whatever reason, right? And my daughter is 24 years old, that's going to be a much different like slap in the face than if we broke up when she was 7 years old. You see what I'm saying? So I have 24 years to say mom and dad are great together and they've been married for 26 years and they can't keep their hands off each other, just like high school kids, blah, 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 you know, and they have a really good relationship. And I am the product of that good relationship. We always say that, you know, that's why you need a positively masculine father and a positively feminine mother. And they're both form the models of masculinity and femininity for the child. Now imagine you take all of that, just go thrown out the window because mom and dad hate each other's guts. And they're like, psych, we're really not like that. Gray divorce. She's going her way. I'm going my way. And I'm going to go bang random hoes and, you know, hookers and blow. Right. That right there will throw off your entire like personality, I think, if that's the case, because you have believed for so long in the fairy tale. You're getting zeroed out. Mom and dad exemplify for you every day, right? You're
literally getting zeroed out. As your worldview everything you thought about the world comes crashing down. Your brain hits that fight or flight instinct, realizing from a survival standpoint, we got to sort this shit out and figure out the world. And so it puts you in that weird, like, what were you saying? Like the depressive state. You're depressed because your brain needs to, like, you know, lick its wounds, start figuring things out, build some neuroplasticity.
Oh, yeah.
Every divorced kid, to some extent, you're right, at a certain age goes through that.
And it's, I think it's different when you're younger and you can sort of like process it differently because you don't have any preconceptions of like, oh, love is like this, or like a relationship ought to be like that kind of thing. Yeah,
you're too young and stupid to know any different. Whatever.
Like if, for instance, like if your parents are always fighting and your dad's an alcoholic, your mom's like an alcoholic, or there's some really, really bad, you know, dysfunctional shit in your family and they break up, you go, oh, okay. You know,
I get it.
Just saw that. I get it. Yeah. Right. But like if mom and dad are like lovey dovey and then suddenly psych, surprise, we're really not like that. I keep dead alligators in my refrigerator. You know, it's that kind of
oddly specific example.
Yeah, I know. You know, so. And now we've gone from cooter smuggling to dead alligators in your refrigerator. Happy Father's Day, Rollo. Thank you for all the hard work you do. Thank you very much. You're also, did I have this? Oh, here you go. There you go. That's for you, Glenn Lawrence. Rollo, what is the song that we should use for our bass off? Oh, Glenn Lawrence wanted to challenge me to playing a bass off. Let me think about that. I know, the Barney Miller theme, the Seinfeld theme. How about I'm trying to think? Oh,
you can't even do like Sanford and Son, something cool.
Those are too easy though.
Oh, dude, Sanford and Son, get that shit on there.
Sanford and Son. We should do Sanford and Son. That's it. We're gonna do Sanford and Son. Okay. He's like, what's Sanford and Son?
Yeah, that's your first mistake, sir. You got to
know. Dark Knight says, Roger Dean tomorrow. So, why do tradcons use the single father marriage? Oh, this finally somebody's on topic. Thank you very much. You get a there. Why do tradcons use the single father marriage concept to justify criminality in the black community? To shout to Ryan, why do they use the single father marriage concept to justify criminality? I'll let you go first, though.
Well, I mean, it's correlation at this point. That's the problem. It used to make sense because back then, oh my God, the families that were most effed up tended to be also separated. The problem with that stat now is it's one of those baseball stats you can make up because everybody's parents are separated.
Mm-hmm. So
everybody that's going to prison is from a separated family. So it's kind of a useless stat right now, but it's because it's a wonderful talking point that gets through a narrative.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
There's a whole lot of factors, of which not having a father around is a big one. Right. But that's not the same thing as saying your parents split up, like you just said. So people lie through statistics, and it has just a little bit of truth in it. So you can like arguably say, well, of course, it's because the marriage. It's like, no, it's because a positive father figure is there, or a positive male figure.
Yep.
Yeah.
I would argue this is that I think that it's necessary because here's the obvious answer. Here's what we're supposed to think. We're supposed to think that there's some conspiracy that says, well, we can point to the reason why, black youth tend to be more criminals, like they tend to populate the prisons more so than white youth. Okay. So we can say you can hit that angle and play the race card, but I'll tell you what, you don't need that to explain the real thing here. The real thing is that the reason why tradcons cling to that is not because of racism, it's because of endemic sexism is what it is. So what happens is whenever there is a kid that goes and shoots up a school, which we just had recently happen here in the United States, imagine that right in an election year, right? But you have a kid that goes in and shoots up the class, and we go through a process. The first one is gun control. Well, that's where we always started gun control, right? Oh, we need to limit bump stocks or whatever, like some stupid, whatever sounds like reason at that point, right? And then we go from gun control to it's a white kid. It's always white kids. It's an incel, right? His girlfriend broke up with him, and then we go to mental health, right? Oh, we need to focus more on mental health. There are never any specifics about it. It's always we need to have more mental health, and then from the mental health grift we go to where's the father, and that's usually where we end up, right? Here's this kid. We don't care about fathers in the homes. We don't care about removing MAN in the English language. We don't focus on those things. The only time we have a problem with fathers not being in the household, or dad being a deadbeat dad, or promise keepers, or anything we've talked about up to this point, the only time we have a problem with it, or the only time we say where is dad, is when the kid is in jail, or the kid is responsible for killing people, or the kid is responsible for selling drugs, or his own suicide, or whatever plagues kids between the ages of like 12 and 21, somewhere around there. Where's dad? Where's dad in all of this? No, the question you should be asking is, where the fuck is mom in all of this? Because we've told women that they can be dad. We've told them that they're just as capable and just as effective as a father could be as a single mother. And she can also be a mom too. She's a superhero. You know how I know this? Go look at any article or sermon or TV show about mothers on Mother's Day, and they'll say, you're doing it all. We should lift you up. Here's your rose in the church, right? Here's your whole thing. You can do it all. Well, if they can do it all, then guess who's responsible for that kid's criminality? Not dad, because dad's not there. It's her who is responsible for it, because she's the one that's raising that kid. So to say that a woman can be just as effective as a father, as a male father in the household could be, if that's where you're going to be at, you better own that kid's criminality as well. Just because the guy's not there, just because father's not there, Now, do I agree with that? No, but that's the logic, the twisted, convoluted logic that they're going to use every time, whether it's the black community or it's a white community. The first question out of people's mouths is, where's the dad? It must be dad's fault. Oh, now men have to take responsibility for the authority that they didn't have in the first place, because if they had the authority, Junior wouldn't be in jail.
I still think it's a coping strategy too. Like, obviously single moms know that they don't like being single moms. And so everybody has to constantly tell them, no. Literally the compliments. The guy's like, if I give her enough compliments, she'll sleep with me. She won't watch this TV show unless I tell her she's strong and independent. If you're actually strong and independent, you don't need people 24/7, 365 telling you how great you are at it. Those are people that are suffering, and they know they're suffering, and everybody around them is lying to them because they want something from them. I'm not standing for women here. unfortunately, a lot of single moms are just as autistic as dudes are. And so they're taking that literally, thinking that they can get a good go of it. And then when they find out it's not the case, yeah. So it's almost, but that's the weird thing, is because then when people, like you said, when they're like, where's the father? They're kind of like, they're kind of ratting themselves out. They admit that this is all just a big fiction we sell to chicks to buy shit. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the other thing is like
the kayfabe, the theater, the lie that we can't quite discuss. It's just
we're
bubbling
gonna
under the surface.
We're gonna get to this here in just a second, but like Jedediah Bila, who is now on Valuetainment, by the way, she was talking about Matt Walsh's video, "What is a Woman?" Right, and I'm kind of on the fence. I got mixed feelings about this whole thing. So just to, full disclosure here before we get into it, but the whole thing about like what is a woman is based on the premise of what? Of social constructionism. And that's really what Matt Walsh was getting into during all of this. So he would go around, he went to like the great women's marches or whatever the hell was going on. He went on, Dr. Phil and like, sort of pretentiously said, what is a woman, to the bearded lady. I did a full episode on that. And basically he went around the world, went to like tribes in Africa, asked them, what is a woman, right? And did these interviews of like teachers and doctors, and especially the hormone blocker doctor, the transgender doctors who perform surgeries and shit like that. And of course they storm off of the set and they go and do their thing, whatever, which is basically a Frank Castling if you think about it. But we'll hold that, put a bookmark in that one. However, it's based on one thing, and that is social constructionism, which is exactly what we're just talking about here about this question here. Is like, well, where's dad? Well, why would that matter if anybody can be a mom, if anybody can be a dad, if it doesn't matter whether you got a dick or a cooter, right? It's just all it is well, are you a strong, positively masculine guy? Well, it doesn't matter if you have a vagina or a penis, you're the one who should be in there with the authority and step in there and parent Junior away from using an assault rifle at school, right? So if that's the case, then they're also being hypocritical in the sense that now we're also putting lives at risk, but we're also going to try to turn it into a gender narrative grift on top of everything else. So what difference does it make where dad is? Because it doesn't matter if it's dad or it's mom, because gender is just a social construct.
Yep.
Until Junior goes and guns down kids and goes to jail, and now it's a dad thing. Now,
well, then you can get paid on the gun control grift, or you can get paid on the give the teachers arms grift. That's just it. Everybody is a selfish asshole. They want money, and they're lying to get money. They're trying to manipulate everybody, and unfortunately, the single moms and the angry divorced dads are all the ones that are left to suffer.
Speaking,
how's it feel, guys? How's it feel? That guy who was talking about his divorce, where the wife and he can't even afford anything now. That was done so we could sell more fucking product. How does that make you feel?
Yep.
Piss you off, doesn't it?
I was saying this yesterday on Rule Zero, man. It's like we can make tires now that never go flat. Are we? No. Nope. We can make light bulbs that never go out. Are we? Well, I guess we kind of have some, but like we're still making the ones that do go out.
Yep.
And why don't we talk about Amber Heard? That's not Aaron Clary. I know that that's not Aaron Clary. Aaron Clary would not use a generic icon, although maybe he would. It's minimalist.
It's minimalist. Jesus, that was the funniest. I went and watched that again, his minimalism when Clary lost his shit. That made me laugh so hard.
Minimally losing my shit. Apex Mindset says, Insight. Apex Mindset, that's Paul Benjamin. Apex Insight says, yes, I went to church today, and you are spot on. The preacher spent more time talking about how to treat your wife. Of course they do. Because because they got you. They got you there in the pews. Oh, it's Father's Day. That's awesome, man. I'm going to go there. You know, it's fun. I'll tell you what's fun is when I was doing the research for my fourth book for religion, I made a point, and it was Pat Campbell, by the way, God bless his eternal soul, who said, hey, why don't you go on Mother's Day and Father's Day and we'll do shows about it, which we did. And I did comparisons of like how we treated mom and how we treated dad. So I went to some churches around here, and on Mother's Day, they literally were handing out roses. Are you a mother? Yes. Here's your rose. Here's your rose. Here's your rose. Like, they're the
opposite of the white feather society.
Exactly. When it was Father's Day, I'm like, oh, I wonder where my beer is. Where's my fishing lure? Where's my Rapala? Or, whatever it is. Where's my, come on, give me, where's the gift? Where's the free gift? Your free gift was, you're a son of a bitch and you need to do better. And if you guys need to man up, and if you're not you're a father, then I don't care how good a father you are, you have ways to go, mister, that kind of shit. And it's like, it's still to this day, it's exactly the same thing. I think that, are we caught up on those finally? Okay. Got to you. Is
this why Anakin killed all those kids?
It is. This is exactly why Anakin killed all. Jesus Christ. You're killing me with this stuff.
The original Elliot Rodger. Yes.
Being a former youth pastor, I heard so many sermons praising mothers on Mother's Day, and like they are holy. And on Father's Day, you hear sermons about how men have to constantly strive to be better because they just don't compare to mothers. Well, and you know what that's endemic of, and I wrote about this in the 4th book, Glenn, is the reason why we want to hold men more responsible is because we don't know what else to say. Because we want men to be more responsible. We see that with world going to hell in a handbasket, and we go, where are the men? How come Junior's shooting up the school? Where are the fathers? Where are what's that? Drag Queen Story Hour. How come men haven't just manned up and just beat the hell out of these girls and ripped them off and thrown these weirdos out in the street? How come they're not living up to their masculine responsibility? And I will tell you this, they have no authority. And if they did, they would be the first ones they would prosecute, and they would be in jail for a lot longer for trying to step up, doing what would stereotypically or conventionally be a masculine act. As a matter of fact, the American Psychological Association seems to think that traditional masculinity is a personality disorder. It is criminal to be a man. So that's why you see that, but they can't ignore you. They can't, God forbid they would ever celebrate you, because if you get too big a head as a man, you go men, and you get to that point.
Yeah.
It's like, then first of all, you're alienating the women who are actually in the church paying the tithes. That's number one. And then number two is like, you've got to be telling these guys to do better, because the women that are in the church that are there, either they're sitting by their husbands or they're there in the singles ministry or whatever else, they want to believe they're sinless and blameless for their conditions, and it's the guys, these irresponsible sons of bitches who don't have any authority to affect that responsibility in the first place. But it sounds good.
I have an article on this. I can finally tell you I have an article on this. I call it testicular cancer meetings. It's based on, like, dude, assertive Bill of Rights, very red-pilled canon thing, right? You're allowed to say I don't know. And these guys don't say I don't know, because there's 5 different types of advice for men I've seen. And this is the one, I can't remember the names I used, but this guy was one where he wants to help, but he doesn't know. The problem's too complicated. He doesn't know how to deal with it. His solutions aren't working, but he wants to help. So you have to latch onto a talking point. And these talking points, they keep getting repeated like memes, right? So that's the thing. So I can't say I don't know, because then that's like, I'm not assertive or being, masculine. I have no frame. I'll say this thing. Oh, gun control. Where are the dads? Because that's what you heard before, and you just repeat it. There's a few of them, and you've basically been talking about all of them. I should almost find a link to this. It's great. Yeah, there's the guy who turns it into an excuse to bitch about his problems. There's the guy that turns it into the talking points because he wants to help and he can't offer anything. And there's very few of the good type of guy who's actually like been there, done that, swap some notes. And that's essentially the red-pilled guy. But that's the problem, is because you're avoiding those other 5 archetypes of guys who give advice, is that you reflect their problems onto them. And so they fight you for it. And that's Plato's cave, man. They kill the guy that talks to how the outside is. And that's literally it here. Because you're not just telling these people what the problem is. You're not telling them how to fix it. What you're doing is you're saying, every other guy in this room's an asshole. And they're fucking lying to you. And so everybody in that room is now angry at you, because you're making all the theatrics, all the lies, all the ego protecting, ego investments, all the marketing. And you're basically walking like Jesus, flipping the fucking tables, and the moneylenders are pissed. Next thing you know, running you up the fucking crucifix. There's your flagpole reference. We're going to bring it all in.
There you go. Run me up the flagpole.
And that's why you don't do this. Jesus, you don't tell people. Yes. Yeah. Don't red pill people. Let them burn, because you will suffer for it.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. You will suffer for telling. What is it? And people think that this is me that came up with this. I'm not. This is actually a Robert Greene quote. It's never appeal to truth unless you're ready to deal with the anger that comes from disillusionment. Because people, if you tell people the truth and you put it there black and white, and you break their ego investment in whatever they're clinging to, what they've developed their personality on, and that's their truth, and you go, no, that's actually bullshit. And you show that it's not, you're not attacking the belief, you're not attacking the falsehood, you're not attacking the facts, you're attacking them,
attacking the identity.
Yes. And so never appeal to truth unless you are prepared to deal with the anger that comes from people's disillusionment. And it will always, always be that way. Let me get the rest of these real quick. Father's Day. Fathers aren't just important. They're necessary. If necessary, then be the dad who stepped up. Okay, fine. The other thing is
that real?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not, how do you disagree with that? That's a problem. Like when I talk about like stepfather, the dad is the dad who stepped up. Whenever I say there's a thing called retroactive cuckoldry and there's proactive cuckoldry, people hate the retro. You want to talk about dealing with the anger that comes from disillusionment? That's one of them right there. Because what we do is we tell guys that you're a superhero. You're just as good as a single mom. If you're a stepdad and you come in and you save mom from herself. I just had a conversation with this guy, and I'm not gonna. His name is Justin. I'm not gonna give you his last name, and that's not Waller. But the guy was involved with a woman who was 29 years old. He's 37, 38, somewhere around there, and she's a single mother with 3 kids from 3 different fathers. I'm like, first of all, that's a huge red flag, and you shouldn't even be talking to me about this. Because you should know to stay away from that.
You should know better, sir.
Exactly. But 3 different fathers. So after the one, then there was a second one, and then there's a third one. At what point along those 3 do you go, maybe it's me? You know, maybe that's something you should really consider as being like, maybe I have a problem with all of this, right? Maybe it's not the guys, maybe it's you that's actually doing it. But that would be holding women accountable. Lord knows we can't do that. But
self-awareness.
But here's the thing: how much, like, if you've got a single mom, she's got 3 kids from 3 different fathers, and you're the one guy who goes, you know what, baby? I got it. I'm going to step in here. I'm going to be the man who stepped up, and I'm going to take care of these kids, even though they're not my kids. I'm going against every law of physics, every law of evolution of my own paternity, and I'm going to take care of not just one man's child, 3 men's children, and they're all different. And I don't care if they're a resource drain. I don't care whatever. I don't care about it. That I'm a superhero. I am better than just the average stepdad who stepped up, because they're only taking 1 or 2 kids. I'm taking 3 from 3 different fathers, and so I should be more of an impressive specimen of the guy who would actually, be retroactively cuckolded, not just by 1 but by 3 other guys. And we're supposed to. Where's my appreciation? Where's my stepdad trophy? Where's my Father's Day card? And I need 3 of them because they're from 3 separate guys, and that I am taking care of, and basically laying down. I'm going to go extinct because I'm taking care of these guys' responsibility.
This isn't abstract either. I sailed with a guy who did this, Monahan. I remember he was a supply tech. He used to write suicide notes on the boxes when he'd start unpacking stuff on the ships. And he was a fat guy too. His wife had her 2 ex-husbands living in the basement of their house, and he would go off on sales, and because he was a fat guy, the chicks on the ship were just vicious to him. Vicious. And the guys were like, everybody felt sorry for him, but you couldn't bring it up, because as soon as you mentioned, like, dude, this is a horrible situation, you're taking care of like 4 kids that aren't his, 2 stepdads and a mom, he's basically like the patriarch of this whole family of people. But he couldn't, because he was so hell-bent on being the martyr. It's like, the only reason none of these people are dying in a ditch somewhere is because of me. And he felt like a hero. And it was just sad to see, because in his heart of hearts, he knew. Like, you don't write suicide notes when you think everything's on the up and up. So when those guys, it's almost like a cry for help. Where's my trophy? It's like, dude, there's no trophy. Get out of there before you decide to start a shotgun. Yeah. What else do you want me to say?
Well, I think a lot of guys, particularly beta male guys, now remember, 80% of men are unattractive to women, okay? But those guys still got to figure out some angle to reproduce. They got to find some sort of like value added that puts them, at least at some point along the way, takes them out of the 80% and puts them into at least the 20%, or something that is considered when a woman needs him, which has some sort of use for him. And usually I understand, put it this way, I understand why beta men think that being a stepdad or being the guy who stepped up or the guy who's going to get laid because he's the one who's putting himself on his cross, he's the one who's sacrificing not only his biological imperatives but his resources, his time, and everything else to be the dad that she couldn't lock down in her 20s. In this case, she was 29, right? So she couldn't lock any of these three guys down. This dude comes in and says, you know what? Not only should I be appreciated just for being the stepdad, but I should also be appreciated for the fact that I'm taking over three guys' responsibility. So I got triple point bonus for being a stepdad, and that should make me a superhero. And then they find out that all that sacrifices goes unappreciated because they say this is what you should do. This is just
lighting yourself on fire to keep other people warm, man.
And exactly. And it seems like logic to these guys because, and the problem is I hate it because the guy's a good looking guy. He's a personal trainer. He's a good looking dude. He takes care of himself. He's on point with his money and everything else. It's just up here, right? It's changing his mind about himself. In what world does that seem like a good idea when you've got your shit together and you go, that's okay, baby. I'm going to absolve you of all the consequences that you've incurred on your life up to 29 years old, trying to consolidate on three different guys with three different kids. But that's all right. I'm going to make everything better. I'm going to solve your problems and resolve everything. All I want you to do is like suck my dick, right? All I want you to do is have regular sex with me. And that's a failure in mindset, for lack of a better term. Is a failure in sort of like, I don't know, conceiving a way of life.
Bad strategy.
Yeah, but I understand why it seems like a good idea because those guys are constantly reinforced and praised for being the dad who stepped up. And they go, well, that seems to be, it's like you should go and date fat chicks because there's a lot of fat chicks and they need a guy. And you know what? Maybe you could just take one for the team and jump on a grenade and fuck this fat chick and make her life better, even though she's suffering from the consequences of eating too much and not exercising. But that's okay. Put all of your biological imperatives on hold because you'll be a superhero for getting with the fat chick, the old chick, the midget, the girl with alopecia, whatever it is that's the disability. You're the guy who goes, you know what? I bet I could get in there. I bet I could if I'm the guy who wants to bang a hot midget, right? I'm gonna
like the one from Total Recall at the casino. That would be awesome.
But if I'm going to be the guy who's going to sacrifice myself to solve this woman's problems or absolve her of the responsibility of her decisions, then if that seems like a good style of game, then maybe that's what I ought to pursue, and that's what I ought to prefer. So I want a chick who's overweight. I'm a chubby chaser. I really prefer a woman with a little extra meat on her bones, right? You'll make up those stupid euphemisms, but what you're really saying is that you're going to sacrifice and you're going to really disable yourself in the evolutionary marketplace, the sexual marketplace evolutionary scale, so that you can reproduce at all because you don't see any other way around going from being in the 80% to being in the top 20%.
Which is ridiculous because it's like it's easier now than it's ever been. Yeah,
that too. I know. On top of everything else, last one here. I love this one. Michaela's boy toy. Yes, Jordan. Thank you very much, Mr. Fuller. Fathers aren't just important; they're necessary. Okay, I already got to you already. And what is a comfort test? Tony Pajamas would like to know.
Oh, well, when she's worried about losing you, she throws out comfort test in the same way that a shit test exists to see if that attraction she has for you is real or a fake signal.
Yes.
Easy way to think about it. Actually, here, if you're confused about it, the easy way is shit tests will have you. Comfort tests will have an I in it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a good turnout. Okay, so I also want to throw here, because I'll be remiss if we don't get to this, because it sort of ties into what Jedediah was talking about. But the title of today's show, of course, is like, why do women love a cheater? And I've said in the past, and we were going to, this is actually what spontaneously created this whole show, is you were asking me, and like for instance, I did this thumbnail today with Tori on there, and people go, "Oh my God, what does Mrs. Tomasi think about all this?" Mrs. Tomasi's on board with me because she loves me, and she knows that she has a good sense of humor, and she knows we're all. She's totally cool with all of this stuff. They go, "I can't believe she would be. He must have her under his thumb. He must have her. She must be really."
You've taken her passport and hide her on your compound, huh?
Yeah, exactly. Pregnant and naked, and come over here. It's time, baby. Whoa, okay.
Interpol's looking for you right now. I know.
Yeah, Interpol's. Yes, intervals are at the front door.
I'm such a dick.
Oh, that was great. That was a good side. Okay. Point for Ryan. But you and I were talking about this because you had asked me of something to the effect of like, how do you go about like dealing with, I guess dread would be the better.
I think that's a fair way to say it. Yeah.
Like, how do you deal with dread, a third party passive dread in this case? Because it's not like you go, it's not like I'm going, listen, bitch, if you don't shape up, I'm going to go bang Tory. That's not, those words don't come out of my mouth.
I should preface too, the reason I asked is because we see it. How many content creators do you know where you can tell when they get into a relationship because their entire message changes? Remember Illimitable Man, where he was like, bitches ain't shit for the longest time? And then you could tell when he got a girlfriend because now he's talking about Save the West. And it's like, we talked about this, where a lot of guys kind of preemptively try not to offend their women.
Yeah.
And you're one of the few people I've seen who doesn't change the message. Like, whatever. Like, she's the wife. She's not going anywhere. And I was just thought it was a really interesting topic for guys to see how you could not, as soon as you get a girl, you automatically don't change your entire worldview to accommodate her. Mark Manson did it. Tucker Max did it.
Yes.
Donnie did it. No offense to Donnie.
Geez. Yeah.
How many names do you need me to name in this space? Like, yeah. Anyways, yeah. It's, for background, I'm not saying like, she's going to leave me, Rollo. What do I do?
Yeah. Well, I mean, and then it goes back to what I've always said about like, oh, Rollo has to game his wife. I don't have to game my wife. I am the game, right? Like my natural, unprovoked, unprompted, unscripted way of dealing with my relationship. And I'm not even dealing. It's just like this just, okay, this is where I'm at. And this is why I get it. I read you. And then this is how I operate now. It's second nature.
Yeah.
Like intrinsic, you internalize things. I think a lot of people have a trouble with that. They don't understand, how do I internalize this?
Practice.
Yeah. You
how to get to Carnegie Hall, Rollo.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Practice. Well, I mean, it's not even so much practice. It's at some point you got to change your mind. That's, man, I hate to, this is really kind of stinks of like male self-improvement grift. But the thing is you have to change your mind about yourself. You have to say, I'm now the guy that can get away with this. I'm Rollo Tomasi, right? I'm now the guy who can do these things because I say so. I hate it when people are like we were just talking about like that guy who says, what do you do if it feels like an act, right? What if, how do I don't have any friends, although I've got my money and my muscles and my game on point, but I don't need friends. What do you do if your wife or girlfriend finds out? Well, the very fact that you're worried about her finding out, tells me that you haven't internalized it yet. It's still an act.
Right. You should already know what'll happen if she finds out, and you clearly didn't care, and that's fine. You don't have to.
You're goddamn right.
Yeah.
In fact, if she didn't give you a reason to care, it's almost better that you do this early on, because this is, remember that vetting everybody loves to rant about? How about start to act in your own best interest? And if the other person isn't so valuable to you, you'd be stupid to even think about that. How would I dare sleep with one of these girls? Are you crazy? My wife's at home. She blows me 3 times a week. She makes me a turkey dinner on Sundays.
Yep.
Girl walks up to you with a big set of tits. You're like, not now, babe. That turkey leg is fucking delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah. If your wife's at home is a bitch and she doesn't touch you and all this stuff, then yeah, maybe you should be doing this stuff and look after your own self-interest.
My favorite.
What if she finds out? She fucking knew. She knew this when she said she had a headache for 7 months, you dumbass.
Yep. One of my favorite comedians is Ron White, and one of his I know people are Ron White. Who's Ron White?
He's got that real thick, like southern smoking accent, right?
He's always got a tumbler of scotch in his hand. He's kind of like Dean Martin in a way. But he has this one bit, but one of the things that always stuck with me, he's just talking about like, infidelity and men cheating and that kind of stuff. Right. And he ended one of his jokes or one of his bits with, I'm a good dog, but you got to pet me to keep me on the porch. And I always thought about that. I was like, yeah, I mean, that's, if that's the case, what did you say? You said this one time, it's like, your wife has first right of refusal or something.
Oh, yeah. She gets first crack at your libido, not sole custody.
Right. Yeah. And I think women really lost their shit when you popped up with that at one point.
Yeah, they're more than welcome to. Hey, why would you, if you're fucking your man on the regular, why are you mad at me? This shouldn't apply to you, right? They're just ratting themselves out.
Well, I
don't love them. Well, then why are you with them?
Yeah, I've explained it as this, and a lot of people get, okay, so this is sort of gets to the topic at hand here, is that when one of the things that happened with Fresh and Fit not too long ago is they were on this show, and they were on a Australian radio show, and it was Jackie O and Kyle hell, you know, we're on. And of course, the first thing they want to confront them with is the fact that Myron has famously said, hey, high value men should be able to cheat, right? Or they're deserved to cheat. Kevin Samuel said the same thing, and it's meant to provoke, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that the delivery on that is it could be better. I like,
well, of course, because it's essentially saying you're supposed to give me permission to cheat. That's what they don't like hearing.
Exactly.
Because it's still kind of following into their frame, and I get he's doing it on purpose. But yeah, you need to accept the value system that I give you. Nobody wants to be told what to do, and they don't unless it's a man they're into. So when you bypass that man you're into part, that's where you get all this indignation. Yeah.
Well, and so what happened is, like, when you say this, especially for women who are like quote unquote empowered women of the world, these are the women who get really pissed. I brought this up. It was like Robert Kiyosaki's all-female staff really hates my guts, or they usually try to hate on my guts. And
I don't know how they could hate you. You're such a lovable guy.
Well, you know, it's funny. Thank you, Sarah, for that. I love you too, baby. That's one of my groupies. So talk about a single mom. Whenever I'm talking to him, he's like, why do women hate you so much? I'm like, well, actually, it's men who hate me a little bit more, I think, than women do. But the women who do hate on me, they hate it because I hold up a mirror and they have to look into that mirror, right? It's like, I just work here. But the mirror that I show them tends to be less, it's not flattering. And especially in a world where guys walk on eggshells to try to avoid, you know, holding up a mirror, right? To avoid, you know, offending or because if they don't, then they lose their chance of getting laid or solving their reproductive problems or getting out of the 80%, as I was saying before. But when I bring it up and you bring up these uncomfortable truths, what happens is the women who are like really invested in those things, they wonder why it is that their lives aren't going according to plan. I'm planning on doing an episode with Myron this week in Miami, and the basis of it is going to be really an episode for women, very similar to the essay that I wrote, like the essay for women that I did, and sort of describe what the blue pill is for women and what these misguided beliefs that women have and the consequences that come from it. We wouldn't be holding women accountable for their actions if they didn't believe in this stuff to the point where they changed their lives, and now the product of their lives is based on really a female, you could say it's feminism or gynocentrism or whatever, but it's this blue pill for females, for women, that they followed to the letter, and they wonder why their life sucks. It's very much like guys who, like my father, for example, who's this Delta male who said, well, I follow these rules and I get my pension and I do all this and I put in my time at work and an honest day's work and an honest day's pay. You work 40 hours a week and you get overtime if you this, and it's very template-like, right? Well, think about that in terms of the sexual marketplace for women. Well, I'm supposed to go to the college and they're selling the same bill of goods. If you think about it, go to college, get my own business, be educated, be an alpha female, whatever, you know, follow this life plan that has been, you know, with your student loans in tow as well. And then you get to the point where you're 35, 36 and you go, where's my man? Where's my Prince Charming? Where's my guy who's supposed to be on my
thing I didn't focus on for 10 years? Why is it not here?
Right. Why is he? And I tell you what's funny is, like, whenever I talk to guys, and I was just going to do a show about this not too long ago, but like when guys say, oh, focus on yourself, like Hafiz from the Roommates, he just did a short or something, and everybody's coming down on him, as they should, because he's all like, you know what, you shouldn't approach women, you shouldn't go out, don't chase women, because that's time you could spend on your entrepreneurship or your style, or you could do it, you can invest in it. It's basically the MGTOW you know, mindset / prescription. But just don't spend any time on women, because that's a waste of time. Well, guess what we've been telling women for the last, I don't know, 45, 50, 60 years is, don't waste time on men. Focus on yourself. Get your business down. You can't trust those horrible, incompetent buffoons, borderline abusive men. You've got to provide your own security for yourself, girl. Get yours. You go, girl. We've been telling them exactly the same thing Hafiz is telling guys right now.
Such a men's rights activist thing to do. It's like, hey, let's take this chick playbook that they suck at and they're miserable with. Let's do that too. Except for we don't have that, like, women are wonderful effect to back us up. Yeah. And they're wondering why it sucks. Yeah. Do what you want. What do you want to do? Do you want to be 40 chasing no women with $1 million on antidepressants, get made a mark by some Thailand hooker somewhere who's like, oh, I love you, baby. Give me $1,000 for my family.
Yes, because
like,
there's a separate standard of justice. That's why we don't want to tell women you're wrong. We don't want to tell women, you know what, you shouldn't follow that. It's insanity. Like I
wouldn't even want to tell women that. Tell a woman that. So hey, you want to be with me? Straighten your shit out. That's all you have to say.
For instance, Billy, and you're right, and I get you here. You know, I always run Hafiz up the flagpole, but for good reason. And yeah, and the good reason is this: is he's saying exactly the same message that we've been telling women since the early 70s with militant feminism. The same message, exactly that same message.
We're running him up the flagpole because he's saying dumb shit.
Yeah, that too. Right? Yes, yes. But
don't be an idiot. We won't call you an idiot. It's that simple.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll say what you can't, man.
Well, yeah, please do. But really, I mean, that's essentially what Hafiz is, and not just Hafiz, because there's a lot of people that are like, you know, be on your game, be an entrepreneur. Don't what is it? Disregard females, acquire currency. You know,
ignore half the population. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah,
the social species ignore half the people.
Yes. And what happens? And what happens to those guys? Where's my wife? Where's my girl? How did I get rolled? How did I turn into Johnny Depp? And why am I at this defamation slander?
We don't even have to do that. Tim Pool. Do you remember Tim Pool's little rant? I'm 35. I've got $1 million and a great house, and I got no girlfriend, and I just got this stupid bee I've been wearing for 10 years.
Where's my pussy?
Yes, yeah, exactly. You can like Tim Pool or not like Tim Pool, but you got to admit that's what focus on your grift gets you. You're living in the compound that you can't leave, and no girl will come to join you on it. And the one chick you had
swatted 13 times, yes.
Yeah, and the one chick that you had there basically tried to steal your money and have a fake board meeting, and now you have to take her to court. So yeah, learn about chicks because you're gonna need the fucking skill.
Yes. Yes. What is this? Shout out. Thank you very much for the shout out. That here, you know what? You get that. It's okay. I know.
Aww.
That's cheap. I know. I dated a single mom who is a lot younger, 17. Yeah, that's probably not the best. Red flags. I'm getting a real red flag from that, Paul.
Wait, you were 17 or the single mom was 17?
I dated a single mom who was a lot younger, 17.
You were 18, right? Or what's the statutory rule? You better say you're like, say it in the chat for legal purposes that you were within 2 years.
They would probably go, oh, wait, single mom, is she 17? It's okay. You're a superhero. Go right ahead.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So
I swear to God, you guys are just trying to get his channel nuked. Hey, what can we say that's against terms of service? Cut that out.
So 7.5 billion people, the progeny of the 20% of men? No, they're not. And don't try to, I'm going to use math on this guy.
Wait, who said that one? How big is a super chat? Because if it's not at least $5, I'm booting them.
No, it's 10. It was a super chat. That's fine. No. Okay.
All right, Don, you get to stay.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to get this guy. No, you're not going to get me because you know what? Here, in fact, do I have this? I might.
If you want to get him, at least $5 for the super chat. That's the career-ending price floor.
No, that's not it. Hold on. Do I have the stats? Where's the stats?
There's a stat on.
No, because what they think is I have had to correct people on this recently. They want to say, well, 80% is not always 80%. It's just the 80% of these particular women who are 20%, and they try to like parse it out like a freaking like CPA.
And they forget you and I had an episode on this. It's whatever social hierarchy you in. There's not a worldwide social hierarchy. It's at the bar. The 20% of the dudes at the bar, at the office, people who are sleeping with coworkers, the top 20%. At rock climbing club, Victoria, BC, where I did game, there was 20% of dudes at the rock climbing club that were just fucking everything. So yeah, it's all these little groups of 20%. So don't play this whole, well, what happens if it's across, like America is not a single hierarchy. Trump is not banging all the chicks, even though God knows he wants to.
Yeah.
So don't be autistic. Don't be soft artistic. That's all I gotta
be
say.
Stupid.
We already explained it. You guys should know better. You're paying attention. You're not just playing
there it is. Okay.
Minecraft, listening to these things in the background, are you? Fucking focus.
See, you're gonna make me do this. I'll do this. Now you have to remember that the 80-20 rule, once again, it shouldn't be the 80-20 rule. We should just simply call it the 100-20 rule because that's really what it boils down to. Okay, so how come they're not the kids of the 20%ers out there? Well, I'll explain to you why. Here's where the 80-20/100-20 rule comes from. All right. 80% of men are deemed as unattractive, according to most modern stats. Okay, where did those stats come from? They came from the most recent studies of dating apps, which are the number one way men and women see each other, meet each other, is online. Not in church, not in school, not in work, not in, whatever. Okay. The 80-20 rule is derived from studies that, by the way, that Dr. David Buss did in his great book called Men Behaving Badly. Oh, and here it is. Finally, now I've got it. So here it is. I will read it to you. This is Steve Stewart Williams. I've got it. I've got this already bookmarked. It's in my Twitter. Studies of online dating find that most men find most women attractive. Okay. It was like 60 some odd % is what they find the most attractive. They will respond to 60% of online like dating ads or like Tinder, for example. Where did it go? There it is. Because there's actually a whole dedicated website to this whole thing here, by the way. So let me.
Is that the PUA hate one?
It's not. No, it's not. Yeah, I know, right? No, it's not. It's.
Damn it, Ryan! Stop fucking with me. All right,
yeah.
all right.
Where did it go? Ah, here we go. Okay, I gotta parse this thing out. Okay, here we go. So studies of online dating find that most men find most women at least somewhat attractive. In contrast, women view 80% of men as below average in attractiveness. Men liked more than 60% of female profiles, while women liked only 4.5% of male profiles. That is, you want to do math? Here we're going to do math, right, guys? There's your math for you right there. Okay. So 60% of men liked women's profiles. 4.5% of women took the initiative to say, that guy's hot enough that I'm going to go and try to hit him up on Tinder.
So let me get this straight, Rollo.
It's Justin Waller. Let's go and respond to it.
Let's get this straight. On a place where you're allowed to pick a man based on a single unidirectional attractiveness quality in a photograph, that girls have a skewed version of what quality men means based on that?
Yeah.
Really? It's almost like there's a reason that like approaching during the day and meeting people outside because men are more than their looks is a factor here. It's almost that's the reason why those top 20% of like pretty boys are cleaning up, because that's all they do. You can't put game on a social media profile. You can't put game. All you can do is put a smile and some cheekbones.
Yeah, cheekbones. Yes, you have to. Must have cheekbones. If you don't, you're doomed. Yeah. You need jazzercise. I'm seriously going to invest in stock in jazzercise. But I love this. So 7.5 billion people, the progeny of 20% of men. Actually, I can also point out the fact that as few as 8,000 years ago, what was it? 17 women reproduced for every one male. So
most of the other ones were dying in the multitude of wars we had every 6 years. Right. No shit.
Right. So is 7.5 billion people the progeny of the only 20%? Yes. Yes, they are. And I can prove it to you with DNA evidence even.
And the Black Plague kind of wiped out, what, 2/3 of them? So that stat's not entirely accurate. It just means that those few survived the Black Plague, too. That's why you got that big bottleneck.
I got him with the numbers. I got him with math. Yeah. Guess what? Genghis Khan, 1 in every 200 men on planet Earth is a direct genetic descendant of a Genghis Khan. Actually, he's 1%.
Imagine basing your love life, though, on like a warlord from 500 years ago. Well, the guy used the bow to clear the steppes and invade China, so what chance do I have with the girl? It's like,
exactly.
Get out of here.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no way you really believe that. I don't care what stupid MGTOW.
But they didn't believe that, though. That's the thing. All right, so let me continue a little bit further. So when we were talking about, like, you were asking me, like, how is it that your wife is like cool with all of this? Well, you'll notice that I never use I try not to anyways. Very rarely do I use my marriage or my relationships or even my notch count or my personal experience as sort of like the benchmark for. It's not proof of my past success is not proof of your future success, right? Yeah. I am not a stockbroker, okay? So past performance is no insurance of future success, okay? That's why I don't say this, but for myself, I am in a unique position and have always been in a unique position where I've been around beautiful women all the time. People say, how can Rollo? He's not been in the game in a long time.
Only 9s and 10s at work, bro.
And I'm like, no, dude, it's like I have been in a unique position for a very long time. I've been blue pilled. I've been in a relationship with a borderline personality disordered woman. I have had to deal with a lot of heavy bullshit. I've raised a child. I've raised a daughter from infancy to adulthood. Okay. Been married for 26 years. I knew what I wanted. I got, how do I vet? I can talk about a great many different topics. Okay. And as a result of my personal experience that I don't like to reference too much because I don't want it, people go, well, that's just him. Yeah, it is just me. And that's why I don't say that. So when I say I am the game, that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to understand how to internalize this. And it's a process. It took me a long time to become the game. Right. So when people go, well,
wouldn't be worth doing if it was easy.
Yeah, exactly. Or how can Rollo talk about dread? Or I remember, oh God, do you remember this? It's back when Dalrock was still Christo Red Pill, Dalrock blogger. I got into some hot water. I think it was back in 2015. And this guy, I wrote a post called Christian Dread because I got into this thing where a guy was coming at me talking about like, oh, those red pill guys are talking about dread and you should make her comfortable. And God forbid you should ever step on baby's toes, because if you don't, if a girl at the restaurant waitress flirts with you and you flirt back, then that's going to put your whole marriage at risk. And it's like, if that's all it takes to jeopardize my marriage, I really need to reassess my marriage. Right, because
it's basically over if that's what you got to. Like, Jesus, guys.
And I'll use this as the baseline example here is when I talk about dread, there's two types of dread. There is overt dread and there's passive dread. Overt dread is, look, bitch, if you don't do what I tell you to do, it's an ultimatum, right? You don't do what I tell you to do. You go on a girls' night out, then you're going to be out the door, baby. You don't get out there with me more often than you're out the door, baby. That's overt dread. Passive dread, soft dread, is when her girlfriends go, damn, Rollo's looking good. Man, if you don't want him, I will bang him in a second. Like that kind of, I'm in so many words. I'm not saying those are literally what comes out of her mouth, but
subtext. Yeah,
the idea that you would be, yeah, thanks, Sammy. Just put this in my thing, Christian Dread. Sam, put that in the chat if you would. But the whole thing comes down to this worry about dread. Like you should never, never, ever try to provoke any kind of anxiety or urgency or the God forbid that your wife of all people who you're supposed to spend, till death do us part. God forbid she ever think that another woman might want to fuck you. God forbid she might ever think that other guys want to be you.
Oh, I hope I don't get a guy that other woman would actually want. Having a prize or having something valuable, that would be just tragic.
Yeah. and I don't think that, like, once you get into a relationship, and maybe you can speak to this too, once you get into a relationship, for most men, the opportunities for pre-selection are like few and very far between. Okay. The opportunities for for social proof are very few and very far between. For the average guy who's working a day-to-day, 9 to 5, work-a-day job, and he gets married and he's happy as hell that there's one girl on planet Earth who will suck his dick, right? Yeah. God forbid that he rock the boat because his wife might, turn off the pussy spigot and he'll get closed out. When in fact, if he had the balls to experiment a little bit and say, you know what, you don't have to be cocky about it. You just don't dissuade it. Right. So I've always, this is the Royce example.
Be a little cocky about it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, maybe a little bit. You just, because
what you were getting into when you dated me. I was attractive. What did you think was going to happen?
Exactly. So women love the dark triad. And if you're a little cocky, maybe just a touch arrogant, that little hint of dark triad is catnip for women, especially one woman who is contractually bound to only fuck you for the rest of her life. So God forbid, that you would ever seem attractive to anyone else. Instead of like, you can go and provoke that would be active dread. But if it occurs naturally, don't diffuse that. You want to talk about how do I internalize this? Well, here's a practice. Don't diffuse a social proof when it comes to you and you're not supposed to do it, right? Or if you feel worried and anxiety ridden because of that, that's the problem right there.
Heck, there's even a red pill tool for this: negative inquiry and negative assertion.
Yes.
Hey, why would you think that? Hey, are you cheating on me? Why would I need to?
Why would I need to? Yeah,
puts it right back on them. Or pressure flips. That's what they
agree and amplify,
And that's the subtext of it. That's the subtle thing. It's like, you know, what's the saying about the whatever, which just, I don't need to. I'm getting everything I need from you. She knows what makes you happy. You know what makes you happy. She sees that somebody's willing to make you happy. And then, like, from our limbic monkey brains are like, oh, that's attractive. That's hot. I'm going to keep them. What's your thing about the chicks? Their only agency is sexuality?
Right.
Why don't you make it and make everybody happy? Oh, heaven forbid. Well,
Yeah.
that's manipulative. Yeah, heaven forbid everybody's manipulated into being happy.
Meanwhile, she's addicted to 50 Shades of Grey.
Yeah.
By word of mouth. Self-published. No advertising. Here's a great one. Women-rated male characters designed to capture high dark triad facets, of personality, narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellianism, or a control personality. Physicality was held constant, meaning it was the same guy physically. Women rated the high dark triad character as significantly more attractive. That is why Iron Man will always out-sexy Captain America. So that's number one. Number two is this: convicted criminal offenders had more children than individuals never convicted of a criminal offense. You want to talk about hybristophilia? Here's your numbers. Importantly, the reproductive success of criminals was explained by a fertility increase from having children with several different partners. So who gets to take care of? Who's the superhero who gets to take care of all those several different partners' kids?
Captain Plowhorse to the rescue.
Daddy, the dad who stepped up. You're the one that gets to do that. That's here's your numbers again, Mr. Stepdad, Mr. I prefer single moms. There you go. From having children with several different partners. Wow, if we could just structure society in a gynocentric social order so that chumps in the 80% will eventually be useful to us once we've bred with the guys in prison and had 3 kids from 3 different fathers. If we can just convince these chumps to be the dad who stepped up when the time is right. If we could just figure out I know how we can do that. Social media.
Almost like some kind of alpha fuck beta buck type scenario, you mean?
Something like that. Maybe you could be the real G.
Dude, you should write an essay on this.
The real G?
I think it would sell. Yeah, the real G.
This is my last one. Secondary psychopathy in high school boys positively predicts future dating involvement, the study says. Okay, this is from SciPost. If you want any of these, I'll be happy to give them to you. I've got them all bookmarked in my Twitter right now. However, even as far back as kids, like as children and preteen and teenage development, the dark triad, I don't think we should call dark triad traits dark anymore. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, well, I get why. It's because the guys who need it, they kind of need that edgy factor. Same reason that it shouldn't really be called dread, but the guy's idea of like making his wife afraid of not fucking him kind of appeals to the guy who's down on his luck. So it's basically clickbait. But I agree, it's not accurate. But it appeals to the perfect guy who needs to hear it. Exactly.
I'm of the opinion, and I saw Rob Henderson on is this the right one? Oh, I already got that. Okay. I saw Rob Henderson on the Michaela Peterson show talking about dark triad traits, and remember we were talking about how like David Buss wants to dance around all the uncomfortable facts of the unflattering.
Yes.
I do. This is like, I like Rob Henderson. You can't not like Rob Henderson. I think he's a great dude.
He doesn't like me.
He does. My ass. I'm starting to get like Jeffrey Miller vibes from Rob Henderson. He hasn't blocked me yet, so to his credit. But I'm at the point right now where I listen to Rob like live, and I go, he tries to sort of like ride the fence a little bit because he doesn't want to offend. But he knows the facts. Like the forensic evidence is like points to where the murder weapon is, and he just simply doesn't want to look where must be the murderer over here. Let me read this to you real quick. Just the first couple of paragraphs here. Psychopathic personality disorders in adolescence are associated with delinquency, and delinquency can contribute to future dating success for boys, according to a new research published in a journal of evolutionary psychology. Psychopathy is considered a personality disorder and is associated with a number of negative outcomes. But some scientists have argued that the reproductive tactics associated with psychopathy indicate that the condition is an evolutionary adaptation. For example, a study from Serbia, oddly enough, found that inmates who scored high on a test for psychopathy tended to have more children. We were interested in this topic because we wanted to gather more insight into the evolutionary roots of psychopathy, said study authors Adam C. Davis, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so anyways, the fact remains is this, is that that psychopathy, dark triad traits are actually attractive. If that's the case, what do we say? Psychopathy, narcissism, be cocky, be funny, be arrogant a little bit, right? Yeah. And Machiavellianism, which of course comes down to, like, you know, think about yourself before anything, mental point of origin, more or less. Being deliberate. Right? Being deliberate about it, right? All of those things are net bonuses, net benefits, reproductively speaking, because women respond to those more positively. So therefore, should we not call them the, I don't know, the bright triad traits?
The super duper attractive alpha traits.
Let's start calling it what it ought to be called, right?
And people should understand this intuitively too. Because remember when Trump got elected? I don't know if you heard it in the news. And you remember how even the people that liked him knew he was an asshole, but it was like, he's our asshole. Right. So like even guys get it. You should get it anyway. So when they're saying this other, like, oh, you shouldn't be like, come on, dude. Quit. You can lie to yourself. Don't lie to me. Don't piss on me and tell me it's raining.
Dick jerks. And Royce and the Red Pill has been saying this since, I don't know, 2002. Chicks dig jerks. Oh, no, they don't. They like nice guys who take care of them and blah, blah, blah. And they need to be generous and loving and loyal and da, 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 da. And you want to know why women get so upset when Fresh and Fit say a high value man should be able to cheat, right? Well, I don't know if should is the actual word that I would use. Yeah, however, I would say high value men can cheat. That's why I titled this today. This is my saying, by the way. This is my quote. Thank you very much. Women don't want a man to cheat. Clearly, they don't want men to cheat. Nope. But they love a guy who could cheat, because the guy who could cheat has those dark triad personality traits, and women want to bang him and other men want to be him. And that seems like a guy who would cheat or could cheat certainly has Machiavellianism, maybe a little bit of psychopathy. Certainly, you combine that with a little bit of narcissism. That sounds like dark triad to me. So I'm wondering if we should call it positive triad or bright triad or something else that goes along.
Would be a good marketing term. Guys in the chat, $5 super chats. What do you think would be a great rebranding for dark triad?
Yeah.
I think that popsicle masculinity. That's everybody likes popsicles.
Okay, winner. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at what point do you go, you know what? Women want masculine dominance. Okay, well, that entails a lot of dark, quote unquote, dark triad personality traits. There's certainly the big 5 personality traits that qualify or like in some way qualify for those dark triad traits, you know? So when people say, well, how is it that Miss Tomasi is okay with you fucking around and joking around with thumbnails with Torsia? How is it okay that, you know, you have poor girls and you worked in the alcohol and, you know, you worked at doing promos? I mean, shit, I've done promos for what? Thunder from Down Under, Sterling Cooper. You know, how is it okay that Rollo hangs out with porn stars, right? Well, it's not like I'm banging porn stars. First of all, she trusts me. And then second of all, it's like I'm the guy that other men want to be and other women want to bang. Okay. At least in a perceptual sense, that is certainly, and it's been that way since way before I was Rollo Tomasi, since when I was playing in the LA club scenes and in the band, since when I was, you know, working for casino marketing and promos, since when I was working in the clubs for wine and spirits, and since where I'm at right now. That's why I don't use myself as an example, that a metric for people to compare themselves against. Okay, because I have a unique set of circumstances. You're not me.
Unique set of
I'm
skills.
not you. The girls you're going to get with are not my wife. So that's. I think that's probably the most important lesson to remember in all of this.
The most important lesson is everything you're doing ain't going to be for my wife. Do you got it?
Yes, exactly. Don't use me as your example, as your proof of future success, because it's not going to happen for you. I mean, when you look at things like people ask me about all the time, what's hybristophilia? There it is. It's dark triad traits that women are attracted to. And you know what? bring this up, as I said before, when you talk like the reason why Jackie O and Kyle rage quit on Fresh and Fit is because they have no counter argument to exactly this data that I just put in front of you right now.
Hey, who the hell's Jackie? Like Jackie Onassis?
There's an Australian radio station that you probably don't know anything about this because you don't.
Oh yeah, no.
Shit.
I don't listen to bullshit. You know that.
They went on. I did a full show about this. They did a radio show for this talk radio show that was in Sydney, Australia. Jackie O and Kyle. And Kyle is probably the worst of the bunch, but like they wanted to challenge them on you guys say that high value men should cheat, right? Well, that's Fresh and Fit, right? They're baiting at that point, like by saying should. It's the same thing that Kevin Samuels did, right? I'm not saying should, okay, because I don't cheat on my wife, okay? But it's nice to know that you have other people who find you attractive. It's nice to know. It keeps that sense of urgency. It keeps that sense of competition anxiety. It keeps that value. We want to talk about, like, people asked me about this the other day. They said, what do you mean by polarity in a relationship? That's it right there. That's polarity. Because if I turn, it's like the Ballad of Clark Kent. If I'm Superman and I allow my wife to turn me into Clark Kent, I can't complain when I'm no longer a superhero and she goes and fucks Batman.
That's because what is it? Anxiety comes at the tail end of desire, or desire at the tail end of anxiety. People forget that dance.
Yes.
Girls, desire and anxiety are linked. Anxiety is like catnip. It's a Spanish fly. It's whatever reference you want to use. It makes girls hot for you. It's one of those alpha traits. But the problem is it also feels bad. It feels uncomfortable. And so girls are constantly fighting to have some comfort. So they remove the anxiety. And then that's the balance. That's the alpha and beta when you think about it. The anxiety turns them on, but the anxiety feels bad, so they want to turn it off. And it's kind of up to you to keep it where you're comfortable with. Some guys perfectly comfortable with their wife having high anxiety all the time, and maybe she can stick around, maybe not. Some guys are perfectly happy being 100% comfortable, zero sexual desire. Somewhere in there, and this is the whole point of calibration, is to find a level where, the anxiety is livable, but the sexual desire is livable. And where can you put that? And that's a personal choice you got to make. For Rollo, it's having the booze girls, and then the wife's like, hey, what are you out with the booze girls? And you're for, I'm not fucking the booze girls, relax. And then your marriage is great because of it.
Yeah. And I know
that's all it is.
Right. Like,
and I hate we have to spend 3 hours talking about this stuff because it's once you hear it once, it's so on its face obvious. You kind of feel stupid for not thinking about it earlier. Right.
Well, I mean, here's the other thing is I got, like, for instance, probably tonight, because I'm going to be getting on the plane for about a week stay in Miami. My wife's probably we're going to get after it tonight. I don't give you too much information here, but usually that's how it works, right? Well, he's going to be gone. So she say, oh, well, you're going to be gone for a while. I would want to have sex with you before you go because it's going to be a week before we can get after it again. Okay, well, there is that aspect of it, but it's also the fact that she knows I'm going to be on the after hour show, or I'm going to be on Sosnick's show, or I'm going to be on somewhere, like I'm in Miami in Brickell, right? So Brickell, sorry. And that's, people say, oh, that's horrible. Why would she feel she have to do that? She's under the gun.
She wants to.
She's got a gun to her head. Well, let me also explain something to you. Whenever I was going to a liquor promo, she'd do the same thing. Whenever I was doing like a casino promo, same thing. Whenever I go play the cheap, sleazy ass dive bar in Altura's bar here in Reno, even with my band, it's like, okay, let's go. It's not again, like it's an internalized thing. It's just it's not like I'm saying you better do it or not. That never comes out of my mouth. In fact, the best day of my life is when I stopped keeping tabs. When I'm like, you know what? No quotas. You want to have sex with me? You have sex with me. That's fine. And it's like, oh, well, you're going to the gym, you're getting a promotion at work, you're going and hanging out with new people, you're doing new things, you're on your game, you're focusing on your entrepreneurship, and you're making money, and you're focusing on your physique and everything like that. And guess what? When that woman says, oh, my husband is someone who other men want to be and other women want to fuck, so I better, and he's saying, hey, don't worry about it. Just get to it when you get to it. She'll get to it, because now it's not overt. It's not an ultimatum. It's not an obligation. It's a
choice.
It's a choice. So it's natural desire versus obligated desire. And it's it is so much better when it's genuine desire. Let me tell you a thing or two.
It's almost like people make decisions based on little instinctive stuff like this. Who'd have thunk? You can't negotiate desire, but you sure as shit can parade it around.
We'll get to the super chats, and we're at the 3-hour mark. I was going to get to Jedediah, but I don't know if I'm going to get to it right now. But I do want to point this out though, because this is a very important point in all of this, is the reason why women get so upset with Fresh and Fit when they say, or Kevin Samuels, that a high value man should be able to cheat, or high value men should have are entitled to cheat. Women get hung up on the male side of this. They go, oh, how dare that man think that he should be able to cheat? How dare he think this, that, and the other thing, right? What we don't focus on, and I should point Myron and Fresh in this direction at some point, is it's the indignation doesn't come from this, well, I should say, alternatively, it comes from this idea that, oh, that man thinks he's all that. He's arrogant. He's a son of a bitch. He thinks he should be able to cheat and have me too. How dare he think that? Because I'm all that and he's nothing, right? Only high value men? No, a high value man wouldn't cheat at all. No, he's the kind of guy who could cheat. And you know what? There's nothing that is more attractive than a man who could cheat. And you don't want to. You don't want some broke ass dude that other men don't want, or other women don't want to get, or men for that matter,
well, that's the thing.
Don't want to get with.
Yeah, because these girls are frontal lobe thinking about this, and that's not how it works. It's the limbic brain is what justifies it.
And remember when we talk about solipsism? Oh, what does Rollo mean? He thinks women are solipsistic. Yes, there it is, right there, because they only cast that. When you say a high value man should cheat, you know what they think about? Themselves. The first thing they think about is themselves. They don't think about the larger dynamic. And the larger dynamic is this, that women find guys with dark triad personality traits who could cheat irresistible. That's why. And you know what? That
doesn't count. That's just a feeling. Heart wants what it wants.
We don't steer it that way. Yeah, exactly. We always think about the interests of the women and not the interests of the man. And so what happens is, because we focus on that, we don't focus on the unflattering truth is that the fact is that a guy who could cheat, the guy with the Machiavellianism and narcissism and everything, that guy is catnip to most women, and they're more than willing to share that guy, even though they won't publicly say that because it goes against their own best interests if they say they would share that guy.
That son of a bitch.
They don't want, women will never want to, they never, first of all, if there's ever a dynamic where there's a conflict between men and women, it's usually because of the understanding of whatever that dynamic is from a female perspective and from a male perspective. And because we live in gynocentric times, we only think about it in what works best for women because we think that that is the correct way of thinking about it. So when the correct way is, well, a man shouldn't cheat because it's in the best interest of women, we don't go, I wonder if it's in the best interest of guys to be able to be attractive enough to be a man who other women want to get with and other men want to be, and therefore they could cheat. Why is it
that's too much thinking, man? I'm going to stick to those points.
I know that doesn't make for a very good after hours show, quite honestly, but it makes for a great pre-show. So maybe we'll get to that on when I'm out there in Miami. But they don't, because it's an unflattering truth. It's very unflattering to women that women find dark triad personality. They want to fuck Iron Man. They want to fuck Batman. They don't want to fuck like Captain America and Superman. They don't want to fuck a beta. They will cater their lives and change their lives and work shitty, soul-crushing jobs to avoid having to ever be attached to a beta male. But then when you say, yeah, and the reason for that is because you think you deserve a dark triad, Dark Knight, Maverick, Iron Man, alpha male superhero. And they don't, that's what gets lost in the men should be able to cheat discussion. Like people say, well, Rollo, you're a high value guy. How come you're saying you've never cheated? So what happens is the definition is this. If you're not cheating as a man, you're not a high value guy. No, you could still. Here's the other option. The other option is this. You could be the kind of guy that other men want to be and other men want to bang, and you're with a woman and you go, you know what? I could cheat, but I'm not going to because I'm in love with you and I have a responsibility to you, but I also have authority over you, and I also have a genuine desire to be with you, and you give me no reason to cheat, so therefore I could, but I'm not going to. That's way different. It's
your life, whatever.
Yeah. That's way different than saying, well, you're not cheating, and so therefore you're not a high value guy. No, you could still be the guy who could cheat and you're not cheating, but you're still the guy who possibly could do so. In fact, I would say that is the key to polarity in a healthy relationship when there's a little bit of anxiety. when there's a little bit of, I want to make sure that I suck him off before he goes out to Miami. That's what I'm talking about. So it's not about the cheating that qualifies you as the high value man. It's the high value man that qualifies you as the guy who could cheat. If that's making sense.
Just options. It's having options, having abundance.
Exactly.
You have the freedom. That's what power means. Everybody's always like female power, male power. Male power is the freedom not to be beholden to something. You can make your own decision, even if it's a bad one. Maybe cheating on your wife, she leaves you. That's an option.
I kiss my mom in his mouth. Fuck off. Yes, there you go. Aaron Clary tried to call me. Okay, let me get to the rest of these things here, and then we'll get out of here. Oh, thank you. Well, my goodness, I didn't even see that. Thank you very much, my friend. Guevara 813 says, read this in a loud and angry voice. Okay, here we go. Hey, ladies. If cheating is such an ideal breaker or a deal breaker for you, then all you have to do is choose to date men who can't and won't cheat on you. Duh. Problem solved. Hashtag sarcasm. Happy Father's Day, Rollo. Thank you for all you do. You're welcome. Was that good enough for you? Here, we should.
You're goddamn right.
I should read it in Walter White mode. How's that? Allie, Real Femme Sapien, gave me this shirt that says "Say my name" on the front of it, and in the back it's got like Heisenberg.
Oh yeah.
You're goddamn right. I had to cut the sleeves off. Sorry.
She's trad. Did she knit it herself? Otherwise, I don't want to hear it.
Let's see. Dude, Desi says, let's see. What do you get? We'll give you.
Say my name.
How do you respond to those who argue you shouldn't generalize about women and that every woman is different? Oh,
send them a K. Why are you arguing with women?
The individualism, the individuation fallacy is what that is, by the way. That's a logical fallacy.
Just fog them. Good point.
Yes.
Good point.
So what are we going to deal with? Do we deal with generalities, or do we deal with specifics to understand a general truth?
Rollo, chicks don't care. When they're arguing that point, it's solipsism. Just tell them they're the exception. Oh, don't worry, this doesn't apply to you. They won't respond after that.
Yeah,
that's
won't
all
care.
they wanted to hear.
Special, yes. Yeah, that's the way you respond.
Or when girls brag about, well, I'm not like that. I'm like, and this is my favorite one. Do you think the average girl is like you, or do you think you're better than the average girl? And they won't answer it.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you got to do. Put that out there.
Oh, that's
You'll
good.
win an argument on the internet, guys. Congratulations.
Show. So you're a special snowflake. So do you think you're better than all the women at this table right now? That would be good. Put them on the spot like that. Yeah. Ooh,
no, I'm not. I'm shitty. You're like, nobody's going to say that.
Oh, man. That would be evil. Paul says, legal in my state. Oh, the 17-year-old. I'm sure it's, you know what? I'm sure it's probably legal in a lot of states if you're going to help them if you help a single mom out, right? I mean, hell,
I just wanted on your channel, on the record, that we're talking about legal situations here.
We are legal situations. This is not a thought experiment. No, I wasn't trying to get you. I was just asking a question. I know, it's okay. But it's fun to think that you might be, because it's kind of fun. Sorry. I'm not.
What the fuck is this one?
I'm not laughing at you. I'm laughing with you. Newbie Crypty says, Cryptubi says, I just saw a Hulu ad for a movie about it. Okay, a divorcee in her 60s. Is she in her 60s? Because she looks like late 60s to me. Hiring a young male sex worker that looks like a Chad is this the future? Art imitating life? No, it's not. But boy, is
Netflix going broke?
No, and I forget the name of it, but what it is it's I think it's a situation comedy, but it might be a series. And what it does is it revolves around a woman who is, she's in her 60s for sure. Okay. She's not super overweight. She doesn't look super old, but like I think she's meant to be somewhere in like her mid 60s, maybe late 60s. And she's never had a shot at life, and she's never had really good sex before in her life. And she's been so starved and deprived and everything. We're supposed to feel so bad for this old woman. And what she does is she's got enough money, probably through divorce. I think that's what he said. Divorce. Yeah. A movie about a divorced woman. And so what she does is she goes and she hires basically a gigolo. I mean, can we call it a gigolo instead of sex worker at least? I mean,
do people know what that means anymore?
Yeah, probably not. And so she hires a gigolo, and the guy is, he looks like he's half black. He looks like he's kind of like, you know, mocha.
Ooh, generic minority look.
Exactly. Yeah, generic minority look. And he's a pretty attractive dude. And so the whole thing revolves around him like teaching her how to have sex and like how to become young again and how to make up for lost time. And it's very much like what you call it? Dalrock would call it divorce porn. Like, divorce your man, and you can find this nice, you know, generic ethnic guy who will teach you the ways of tantric love, and so that we can build a Hulu series. That's not a documentary. It's a fantasy thing, right? It's pretty much, I mean, it's like an older woman's version of 50 Shades of Grey in a sense that it's like the guy has to be safe or somebody has to be made, right? Somebody has to be able to pay the bills, and she's probably the one that pays the bills.
What kind of annoys me about this though is just like most of these arguments that people are sending to you, and thank you for the super chats for Rollo, by the way, but they always have to bring up fictional examples. Hey, the Flintstones did like touch grass.
Tarzan could beat up Superman.
Touch grass. If you have to ask a question and you can't think of a real life practical example, chances are you're just filling your head with nonsense.
Yeah.
If you can't tie it to something practical. That's how, dude, the pickup days. Remember the old pickup days? They used to call it mental masturbation. Guys will come up with great theories on how to do approaches and that, but like, how many times have you tried it? And they're like, oh, I haven't yet.
Yep.
And then never worked. They never worked. So if your red pill theory in your head is based on a Netflix episode that you kind of saw half a clip of on YouTube, go talk to a girl. Try it out. You're going to find out most of this shit is bullshit.
Enemy Red Pill wants to, here's what we should call Dark Triad. We should call them Tate Triad traits.
Oh, it's the last thing he needs is more fucking...
Give me a condom. I want to score twice.
There's none left.
Damn.
I gotta admit, it's a good example of like narcissism. Like, doesn't matter if you say good things or bad things, as long as his name's on the docket.
You're right. As long as we get Tate in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Yep. I will say he's got quite the marketing team. That's where I'm going to leave that. Okay, what else we got here? Oh, thank you for that. Actually, you know what? Yeah, you can have that. Eggshells, 6 demon. Where the hell do you get this shit? I will tell you this. I've been on a lot of guys' shows. I've been on a lot of like actually bigger shows than this one for sure. And I've looked at the titles and the names people give themselves on the chat. My guys are the best. My guys outclass everybody. That's how I know when it's one of my guys. I go, oh, well, Pat Stedman's Polish passport. I'm like, oh, Jesus.
Dude, I love that guy. He's so switched on.
I see that like on You Are Here or like, you know, or PBD. It's Pat Stedman's Polish passport, and the guy on PBD reads it out. I'm like, oh, Jesus Christ. No, go away.
Ask
Recently,
me about the cuck article.
Yeah, tell me about the cuck article. What is this cuck article of which you speak? Recently, red pill, 45, tail end of a divorce, no kids, thankfully. I see so many good lessons here, but it's very general. We deal in generalities. Thank you. What tips can you give us middle-aged guys to take these lessons a little more make them a little bit more applicable? We tend to think more specifically.
That's such an expansive question.
Yeah, maybe that's the problem, actually, is the fact that you don't take them generally.
To be fair, my entire channel is based on content like that, so I can't really just sum it up either. Rollo gets the generalities. I've always said that you're the architect and I'm the construction worker. I think it's a good analogy. Yeah,
that is true. I am the architect. I think I've got this in. I think I have generalizations. The essay Generalizations became a chapter in the first book. And the reason why I used to get this all the time, and by the way, I didn't mean to give that other guy short shrift about this, is like the reason why we don't deal with what's called the fallacy of individuation is because it's called whataboutism. What about me? What about this? What about that? What about this? It's actually, I'm not pulling that out of my ass. That's actually a debating tactic / psychological tactic. It's called whataboutism. Gad Saad has done a lot of work on that, by the way. But it's the idea, it's what I call the lie of individuation. I'm sure there's probably a logical fallacy for it, but what it is like the exception proves the rule, right? Or we should develop systems or develop practices based on the exceptions rather than the general rule. And that's like simply
makes no sense in any sphere of influence.
Yes. So why would you do something? I'm more interested in general purpose things. Again, I'm not interested in man bites dog, right? I want to know why the dog bit the man. And to do that, we have to look under the hood and we have to be specific about those things. So I can give you like applicable things to do at your age, like, especially at 45 years old. Like it's impossible for me to give you any kind of suggestions or like best practices without knowing what your personal situation is all about. Because I could tell you, well, you're 45, you've never been married. What do you want to do? First off, what's your goals? Do you want to get married?
You don't know, do you?
What do you want to do? Like, yeah, he doesn't know what he wants to do.
Because everybody doesn't know. I've asked every guy in my community, whether they're in their 30s or their 40s, and nobody has an answer right away.
Yeah.
So actually, you know what? Here, you want some practical advice? I'll tell you what to do. Finding out what you want is going to be the hardest part of it because you're worried you're going to make a bad decision. But here's the thing. There's no bad decisions. There's just different ones. So your 12-month plan is to make a bet with or a deal with yourself 12 months from now. You are going to build up options. You are going to build up abundance. You are going to build up value. And then that guy, in return for giving him all these tools, is going to decide who comes and who goes from your life. Because he's in the position to make those decisions. You today that's sending a super chat to Rollo about how do I get the girls is not. And that's the easiest stopgap goal you can put in place.
I think a lot of people want advice for like I mean, yeah, here we have it, right? Generalities, but it's like, well, what do you want me to give you? I mean, go read Confucius. You know, Confucius say, you know, best time to build or plant a tree was 30 years ago. Next best time is now. I can give you those like tea leaf bullshit. But the thing is like, I can't give you, if you're going to ask me, give us some specific things for like outliers like me. Well, I can't do that unless you're going to go, okay, here's the specific things I'm looking for.
Well, it's not just that. It's your bias. We all have bias. What are you going to do? You're going to tell him to be the best version of Rollo you can think of because that's the way you think. How do I make me better? I'll do the same thing. Be like me. It worked for me. Tates do that. John does. Everybody does that. Whatever there's going on in their life right now, that's their sales pitch. Guys, I just did this thing and it's fucking awesome. You all need to sign on to my course to do it.
Number 4 will shock you.
And that's the antithetical red-pilled advice. The red-pill advice is, what the fuck do you want? I can tell you what I want. Rollo can tell you what he wants. Tate can tell you what he wants. And I don't know if you want any of that shit. Figure out what you want. And if you don't know what you want, figure out what you don't want while you're building some value. And that's the only specific advice you can get. The only other specific thing I could say is you're going to think you need to date girls in their 40s. Date younger. You're going to find it's easier. It's better, it's happier, and the chicks in your life that you can't stand will hate you for it, so you get that little thrill. Ah, Karen from accounting can't stand it. That's awesome.
All right, we got one of these questions.
Where's the Mountain Dew?
Serious question. Why does a woman fitting Catwoman's profile fall in love with a Batman? I get Lois Lane, but the Selena Kyle type.
Are you fucking with me?
Where are the Cheetos?
Are you fucking with Rollo?
You know, I'll tell you, it's funny. I don't have the video on hand, but there's a Justice League cartoon, and you can go look it up on YouTube. It's called Batman Has Game, and Batman is like he's like in chains, or he's in some kind of like, you know, isolation thing, and he gets out of it by like sweet talking and gaming. Was it Tigra, who was part of like the
dude from like Thundercats?
No, not Tigra, but she looks kind of
the one from Wonder Woman. Gotcha.
It's part of like DC Comics, but he was like, oh, let me tell you why you're misunderstood. he really starts gaming her, and then at the end of it, like, she releases him, of course, because she's like, thinks she's got some sort of like connection with Batman, and she's like making out with him while he's like still like in chains, or like he's like held by power bonds or some shit like that. And all he does is just sweet talk. He just games her and seduces this chick, and she's a superhero, right? She's like, hey, she's got like claws and everything, but she's really this misunderstood and tortured soul. And let me tell you something about baby, I understand. It's like what was that Henry Rollins song, Liar?
Oh geez.
It's like, I understand you so well. and then at the end of the video, it's like it's Flash and Superman's like, how does Batman do it? Don't give me I think that he was trying to joke with you because you were talking about Tarzan beating up Superman. Just showing love. Thank you, OG. Long time no see. Thank you, Definite G. You must be the real G, my friend. All right.
For me.
All right, we're done. I know you got to get back. It's Father's Day for me, anyways. It sounds
I don't have a dad.
Egg says answered. I don't either. Answered another. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I'm the father with 1,000 sons, my friend, and I am glad that you guys have been spending this time with me today. Oh, wait, one last big one here. Hey. Hey, happy Father's Day. You helped me out of my worst. I, 31-year-old, deeply fell for a 35-year-old woman covered in tattoos. A suicide girl. All right. Recreational use only. Who said and what recreation it will be? Oh, who said she wanted a family but went to a Telegram group to what? Still trying to get detached. Any suggestions? Yes, you need to detox, my friend. Yeah. Detox from her.
Literally detox, man.
Literally,
it's the same
you need to detox.
that heroin gives you.
In fact, here's what I'm going to do. Sammy, you're still in the chat. Go get the link to my essay detox and put it into the chat real quick here, so he can get a hold of that and read that. That's my first suggestion. You have to detox. So, thank you very much. Anyways, that is it for us today. I was going to talk about Jedediah Bila, who is now on Valuetainment. I think I might save that for a standalone at some point because we have gone way over. But
I'm already getting the dinners ready.
I know, I am too, man. It's like it's Father's Day. I got to go get my food. So, and I know that my dogs want to run, so yours do too. Anyways, thanks for joining me, Ryan. Anything you want to tell everybody before we go?
You know what? Just check out the second channel, Digital Ryan. I'll put a link in the chat.
Yes,
you'll have some fun.
Cool.
It's like, yeah, plus that with your D&D one, you can have your own hobbies outside of it. You don't have to worry about being shamed for having leisure time. You fucking earned it.
Still have hobbies and be red pilled.
Plus, the T-Rex Army, our Project Zomboid streams with Roger Tomarso, they're fucking pretty lit. They're pretty fun.
Get the, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to subscribe to the notifications for that just so I can watch.
Oh, dude, you'll like it. You'll like it. Especially the clips I make of it. Anyways, that's it. That's
all right, I'll see you guys later. I am out too. I will be back in studio. I am going to be doing this show again on Sunday from Miami. I'll be doing it probably from my hotel room, or I'll be doing it live. Watch for me this week while I'm in Miami. Again, Saucecast is on Thursday. Rebel Capitalist Live will be on Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll also be on Fresh and Fit at various times this week. If you want updates, just check me out on Instagram. Also, follow Ryan on Instagram, who I finally did, and he's on Instagram too. Follow him on Twitter, although his memes are superior, and you have superior kung fu than me on Twitter. So, all right, guys, thank you very much for your continued support of this channel. And this has been the Rational Male, and I am going to give you this on our way out. You have been listening to The Rational Male. All rights reserved. Copyright 2022.